All right, and welcome back to episode 5. I think we're at 5 now. It's been a while. Dylan back from Indiverse.io. Great to see you all again. Today we're doing another chat with an independent designer. Well, we've got two actually, which is a treat. But we're not counting as episode 5 and 6. We're just going number 5. You don't get a 2 for this one. We have some interesting people to jump across. They've got an interesting story. They live interesting lives, and they have a very interesting game. We have Chris and Sarah from Aethermon. Say hi, guys.
Hey guys, pleasure meeting you guys.
How are we today?
Very well. We also have a small dog here. You may see make a little visit every so often. So if you see a fluffy tail, that's what's going on there. Yeah, we're very well. How are you?
Yeah, good. Great pet disclaimer. Same on my side. You might see a little black tail floating over my shoulder here and there. Pets, as we all do, living at home. It's great. Awesome. So today we have something a little bit different. We always like to talk a little bit about the creators that we come to, but today we have someone who's got, I would say in mind that most creators that I speak to, myself included, a bit of a different brain. It fits in a lot with Hayden in that they have a interesting business mind, not just how to create a great game or a community, but have a sense of it from more of a mechanical perspective, I would say, like the nuts and bolts of how these things kind of work, rather than taking a stab at the dark and just praying for the best like the rest of us. So there's a bit of inspiration around some of the terminology we use today. So we'll try and do some explanations as we go, just so that we can keep everyone wrapped up. But before we do that, I want to shout out a book that inspired me to have this conversation in a little bit of a higher level, while I'm still, taking the grips from how things grow and how these work. So I want to shout out this, as I was getting it framed, Cold Start Problem by Andy Chen. It's a book given to me by Hayden, my colleague, the guy who helps run this crazy show called Indiverse. It's a great inspiration to putting some, foundation around how you look at growing and building a product. It's aimed at technology. There's a lot of parallels for creatives as well that I've seen and can easily draw across to discuss with others as we learn to grow, whether it's new people with their first game or long timers who are just looking to make that step into the market at a bit of a deeper level. But that's the top down from what you can expect in the later end of the session, but we're going to pull it all the way back and we're going to start talking about Aethermon. So, Aethermon Studios, how did it come about? How did you guys start this crazy journey?
Yeah, so we've been doing this for about 5 years now. So we started in the early part of the pandemic, 2020. Honestly, the way I remember it, at some point, Chris turned to me. We were just sitting at a desk on our computers. He turns to me and he says, "If I said Pokemon board game, what would you say?" And I thought, yeah, great idea. You should do that. And then I know there actually is a Pokemon board game. We obviously also don't have the rights to Pokemon. That's fine. That's not the point. But yeah, he started working on like this concept of like this idea, like a Mon style JRPG inspired board game concept. And I spent about the next 10 days, I couldn't quite get it out of my head until I basically went, I need in on this, and pitched him a story idea, basically. And then Chris was very generous and went, okay, I guess we're doing this together. So that's kind of how that started. It was very intuitive in some ways. It was really lovely, actually.
Yeah, so obviously we started with grand dreams like everyone does. And we're still planning on getting there, but what the game you and Hayden would have played, was Aethermon Collect, which is actually much, much smaller than we originally envisioned, just kind of because before you get started, you have so much to learn in this industry, you probably know most of it, right? There's manufacturing, logistics, tax law, game design, graphic design, marketing, you need to know everything, right?
And not only do you need to know everything, you need your audience to know that you know it, so that they can
that's
have
true.
confidence in
That
you.
is really important.
So that's part of why we launched a much smaller product as our Vanguard product. It's not the idea we originally came up with, but it uses a lot of the same component pieces and a lot of the same characters show up. So yeah.
Like a stepping stone product, and I think it's a good way to sort of show that you guys have something like smaller that you can print out, get out into the ecosystem, to the socials, to the space that you're looking to grow a lot easier. It's not a heavy game that takes a lot of learning, so it's very inviting for new people to come in and try, especially with this boon of new creatives, new ideas, with Kickstarter and that being a massive thing, and publishing houses, this being able to be bigger and better because of that. I think that there's a good thing that you had just to sort of step your foot in, to sort of say, we understand what we can do with this game. And it shows that trust and that faith that people can put into you while you're building your big and bad and hopefully not as big as Twilight Imperium game that's coming up, which you gave us a bit of a run through of, but we won't spoil it in here because we'll leave it for you guys. But yeah, there's that nice stepping stone kind of way. And I think it's a really good way to sort of show bit by bit that you're getting into the big boy studio sort of pants. Yeah.
I think it's been really valuable for us as well. I mean, I had never done, I'm relatively newer in the game industry, even than Chris is. We're obviously, as Aethermon Studios, very, very new still. And I think it was really good for dare I say, our confidence that we knew what we were doing, we knew what we needed to know in order to pursue the next steps of what we have planned, which is rather intimidatingly large. So yeah, having that first smaller product. If any other game designers or game design hopefuls are listening, I would strongly recommend start with something much more pocket-sized, not whatever big goal that you have eventually, because there are so many things you don't know that you need to know until you start doing it.
Not only that, like, I mean, because you don't lose anything, right? Like, if you lose a year to make a small game, you're probably learning so much in that year. You are going to save yourself mistakes that would probably cost you a year later.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's really like a zero risk proposition. Like even once you factor in time, which in some ways is the ultimate commodity, right? It's like the one thing we always all have a limited supply of. You're going to get it back, you know? So yeah, this one really worked for us. And also it's marketing, right? Like
it is, yeah.
Literally our every time we sell our game, we're marketing games that don't exist yet, you know? So
yeah. Like I said, you mentioned, I think it was 2 different ideas that you had. I know that one was way more the hopeful, which was the journey, sort of the journey as you step through with multiplayer, going through the board and trying to climb to the top of the mountain without, again, giving too much away. So, and that, I think, I really agree that could be a massive deal with like the art styling that you guys have got, the way that I think that you could pick it up at all ages as well, just because you fit the art style of like that, 6 to, they could put 99 on boxes, but we'll say 100, just to give them the extra one in there. And don't throw the century people out. Like, I think that's part of that gives it that I don't know. I just fell in love with it the second I saw it. Like, I remember we met at PAX Rising, in the PAX Rising section last year at PAX down here in Melbourne. And I was looking around, like, we obviously were having a look for new designers, new vendors, to make sure that, like, the idea that we've had for Indiverse was going to stick in the Australian market as well, which, look, it's been very flying, and you guys have been part of that journey as well, because I think from this moment we started speaking, your eyes lit up a little bit. And sorry to throw in the line up there, Chris, but just the idea of like what we're doing and how it affects that ability for you guys to market and sort of look at your network and allow it to grow in that same capacity of like low risk. Like, there's very low barrier to entry to jump onto Indiverse. It's something that we're looking to grow, the same sort of community space that you guys are sort of building like around the game, and we're wanting to make that for every designer that's out there. They can build their community, they can step off there, like stand on the same backs that we're standing for to build out the indie industry for tabletop. So that's why I thought that this would be a really interesting conversation, and why I shouted out the book at the start, because it is the same sort of challenges that you guys would face, because you're trying to deal with people who want to grab games, and like, how do you do that? It's a big, massive thing to overcome. There's people who have doctorate degrees in that, in marketing, and trying to get this thing together, and trying to do it with just 2 heads together, or 3 from our side. Like, it's difficult. So let's start from the start. Like, what was the first thing that you did that really sort of had that big impact in either the social spaces or event spaces for Aethermon?
So, I mean, look, I think Sarah talked about confidence. We came into this with some ideas, but until you put yourself out there, you don't know where you fit in the market, right? Like, so we were really lucky. We won the 2022 Oz Indie Showcase at PAX, where they gave you a basically a free booth worth at the time $900.
Well, a table. I
mean, table. But I mean, yeah. And that was our first chance of putting our art, our game design out in the public. And obviously the PAX crowd is amazing. Like, I mean, if you guys have been to PAX, like, the crowd there are so nice. Supportive. They love indies so much. They want to see what's out there before anyone else. They want to support small creators.
And honestly, I think a lot of game conventions have this really lovely atmosphere as well. Like it's not necessarily exclusively packed.
That's
Like,
true.
it's
That's
just
true.
been a real pleasure being able to
Um,
share this with people at those spaces.
but for
Um,
us, that was like the first time we really saw like, hey, if we create this, there's an audience there. Like the market will tell you if you're on the right track. And we didn't even have a game, and like we had a game, we had a demo at the time, and we were packed like the entire time. Like we had to book our demo sessions a day and a half in advance, and everyone showed up, which was so
Yeah.
amazing. We're like,
Yeah.
dude,
Wow.
like a day and like are people actually gonna like
yeah,
turn up?
like Sunday
And
at 2
literally,
p.m. somebody's there because they said on Friday that they would be there.
yeah. So it's like, wow, okay, like
It was lovely.
So I mean that
It was an incredibly special experience.
because
Actually.
I mean when you're like obviously you're building something from scratch,
Mm.
right? Like
Yep.
it's a big leap of faith, right? Like if the market's not there, it's like that's years of your life. But
Yep.
having an event or like a prize like the Oz Indie Showcase really helped us have the confidence to basically recommit, double down, and
And I would emphasize that confidence. For me, it would have been really difficult to justify shelling out that initial investment when, as Chris said, we didn't have a game ready to go. We weren't selling anything at that point. We were testing out an idea. In order to have put $900-ish down, turned up, all the effort to get down to Melbourne, because we do not live in Melbourne at that point, or even now. That's a huge amount of a risk, and without having a reason where we were sure of that, I don't think I would have been willing to take that chance at that point. And that was in some ways a huge accelerator for us.
Yeah.
It gave us an audience, it gave us awareness, it gave us an ability to test something out much earlier on in the process than maybe otherwise we would have done so.
And what I mean, it's not just PAX. Like, as Sarah said, there are conventions all over the world. So one of the things that's really given us is the confidence to literally go all over the world with this. We've now done conventions in the United Kingdom, Singapore, Australia. We're looking to do Germany this year, hopefully the United States soon.
Wow.
And part of that is just like, hey, we now know that that's like, like financially viable, right? Like, if we didn't get that first bite for free, kind of, it's like, oh wow, like hey, we can literally go anywhere on the planet, and as long as there's like a large convention there, we can like pay for it, and it's like, and the audience is there, like people want to support indies, right? They just don't know how. They don't know where to find them, and obviously Indieverse is part of the solution to that. Conventions are big, small, and medium. Like the industry is growing, and I think people are just looking to find ways to be part of it.
Look, I wholeheartedly agree. And I can definitely speak to that anxiety that comes from like the first convention. I remember going to the tabletop convention in last year in May, and that was my first event with Indieverse. I'd been with the team for only about 6 or 7 weeks, and my pin drop was in like 2 or 3 parts through that first 3 or 4 months. The first one was when I couldn't find a game that I love, and I couldn't buy it anywhere. They couldn't stock it. Couldn't even find the studio's website anymore. They'd taken it down from Squarespace or wherever they'd done it. And that was like a piece for me. So for me, that was like the passion piece of like, wow, the thing that like this amazing thing that all my friends love, I can't get it anymore. So that emotional response to me was like, I was upset. I was angry that I couldn't get that sort of thing out there.
What was the game?
It's called Expedition. It is. At some point, I'll have to bring it out and show it on camera or set it up on the Insta. It's honestly one of my favorite games of all time. It's the lightest version of role-playing games you'll ever get. It's kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure game with just a bunch of friends. It's very, very fun. Exceptional game. I absolutely would love to. Hey, look, guys from Expedition, if you are out there listening to this, hit me up. Let me know. I will shout the praises of your game all day, every day. The second part was actually going to an event, much like you guys. So I had the very first conversation. I'll never really forget it. It was with Luke from Fjord Serpents. And he talked to me just about the journey he had, about his passion for history, obviously the Norse mythos, because it's a skirmishing game, like a war game, but with ships and Vikings and the like. And just seeing his face light up with just the idea. We had like a terrible demo. I say terrible, sorry, Hayden, for the first session there. And he just lit up. He just saw something there that was an opportunity for him that was my guess is just way better than the opportunities he'd seen, or like maybe it's the first one he like after hearing all the stories about like other online spaces, retail, and like some horror stories there. It can be, I can imagine it can be discouraging. So for him, just seeing his face, and I've caught up with Luke every time that we go to events together. Wonderful gentleman, but yeah, that was sort of the piece for me. Like I get that oomph, that energy that it gives you, and you get that, like we get that at every con. The guys call me I get a new nickname every time, but this for CanCon this year they call me the Energizer Bunny, because you couldn't stop me from running around, checking on people, having chats, just being in the sphere with just the energy in the room. It's, yeah, you can't stop me.
I love the energy. Yeah. Actually, CanCon is particularly, was our first CanCon, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whatever it was. And it is really relaxed compared with some of the other conventions we've been to, but there are obviously people who've been going, 25 years or something. So obviously has a lot of loyalty around it. It seems like a really special environment, that one.
Yeah, I think with all the events, like I think Tabletop Convention and CanCon are probably in the big ones that are like just that massive piece for the independents in Australia. Like there's so many people there that aren't even just showing off or at tables or showing off new games or playtesting, anything like that. They just turn up to support the people that they've met from other conventions. Like the amount of locals that we saw in Canberra that were just there for the games or there for their friends who are like showing off their first game. Yeah, it absolutely, like it's heartwarming.
There's something really nice about being in this sort of smaller section of the marketplace at the moment, as we are, which obviously we're wanting to grow and move up to that next level of sort of company awareness, I guess. But at this very small indie level, there's a lot of camaraderie. It's a really fun space. A lot of people want to help each other succeed. That's been really enjoyable.
Yeah, we definitely have like our PAX friends,
Yeah.
probably hopefully now CanCon friends, and
Yeah,
like it's like, yeah,
South
see
by
you guys
friends.
next year, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's really nice.
Yeah,
Really fun.
it is, and I agree. It is nice to be, even though I don't create games or anything like that. Like just being something like adjacent to that, you still get that same level
yes,
of like
fun industry, yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. It's just that warmth. It's infectious. It really is. I can't wait to see. So a little bit behind the scenes, like we've been looking at the US space as well and European space. It's just a lot out there to do for just the three of us at the moment. But it is that same, like it's the same sort of camaraderie you get there. Like we speak to people online through like the socials and that, and they're already like, they tell us that they're going to, tell their friends or tell the people that we're sort of also trying to connect to that, we're the real deal. So it is that, like everyone just sort of like speak about us. Once someone sort of gets us in their ear, which makes it sound so horrible to say it out loud like that, but like once it's like past that, like, oh, it's another business trying to sell my game, like, and seeing what the offering is and what we're trying to do, it's so different. It's like night and day. So I feel you, and I wish that we could like go to the States and Europe and that at the moment to go do stuff like this, because it's just that it's so different. It's so different to just the online space. But that's how we, it's how you start that growth over there. It's like through the online channels, which you guys talked about, like traveling internationally, and you would see like the difference between like an online interaction to an like in person. It's night and day.
It's also interesting. Different places have different feels about them.
Okay.
We were recently at the Asian Board Game Festival in Singapore, and what was really striking to us, lovely crowd, really good fun, great again to interact with the other indie game designers and stuff, really nice. But what was very surprising was that when we sit down, because our game can be played competitively or cooperatively, and in Australia we get about 50-50 split. In Singapore, about 90% of the groups who sat down wanted to play the competitive game, and it was very much the minority who wanted to try out the cooperative game. It was really interesting. Yeah, I did not expect that.
No.
But if you're Singaporean and you're listening to this, maybe you'll be like, yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, that's what we're like. I don't know, but it was a really interesting experience just seeing how distinctively different that was.
And it's not like it's a massive difference for perspective. Like you're still competing against someone or something. Like it's competing versus the board or competing versus a player, but maybe they just have that competitive blood over there. I'm not sure.
We've had a few theories as to why. Some of it was like the way in which people are taught in their schooling years.
Okay.
I can't remember all the other suggestions as to what people thought. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if
They're saying a lot of
something
people that everyone they grew up in video games.
Yeah.
And if you sort of rewind what video games were like 20 years ago, they
Mm.
were very competitive. So
Yeah.
And it might also be just what people expect of a cooperative game might not align with what we're actually offering. So they have an expectation going in that doesn't necessarily align with. Maybe they would really enjoy the experience anyway. Who knows? Maybe they'll find out if they buy the game and they're playing it on their own time, you know. But it was very different from the Australia and also the UK. Our experience there has been sort of a 50-50 split. So that was fun.
Yeah, I had the same feeling. Like when I first got the chance to play at CanCon, you asked me if I wanted to play competitive or cooperative with Hayden, and we both jumped on the competitive, thinking, "Oh yeah, this is where like the hardcore like stuff's going to be. It's like where we can really sort of like throw strategy in there, and it gets like knuckles down." But like, nah, the co-op's the way. Like honestly, I said I haven't played it since I got back from CanCon a couple weeks ago. I know, very bad, but like I'm excited to try it out again in the cooperative space, like that. Coming together and trying to beat the board in what is honestly super challenging without like a great strategy sort of pre-thought out and going like as the board's laid out. Like I get that wholeheartedly, and I get old school. I played video games and like competitive games for a very, very long time, and I had the same notion. But if you ever pick it up, guys, do the co-op. It will rack your brain like so much more. It's so much more in depth in how you have to strategize around it.
Yeah, hopefully we can sort of try and break down some of those expectations as well. Like there were probably people who only play competitive games, and never even occurred to them that there could be a competitive element to the cooperative game where it's like you're trying to beat your previous best. You're trying to beat somebody else's best.
Yep.
So hopefully we can sort of, activate a few more people to just sort of expand their horizon just a little bit. Because honestly, there are so many games out there that like you really like you're missing out if you only ever play one kind of game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I used to think a couple of years ago that I preferred story-based games. I was lying to myself. I actually really like abstract puzzle games as well, which is kind of the opposite, right? Like there's no story involved in that, but they're good fun. I think I was limiting myself unnecessarily.
It goes through like sways. I find myself finding different things that I like to hear or like pillars of games that I'm enjoying in different parts of my life, whether it's like about like a point of stability or instability or needing like certain things in there. I think there's probably little waves that you go through where you want to be doing different things other than others, whether that's the same with tabletop games. It's not something I never really thought about, but like we do so many different activities in our state, physical, mental, emotional, where we are. So surely there's got to be some of that flip there. I think being open to that and this being like, I'll try something new just because I feel like it today. I think people getting around to that, hopefully in the future, will really help these games that have like multi-modes or like different styles of games altogether that they get to play. Because if you don't do it just because you don't think you'll like it, you're kind of just missing out on your own.
Yeah, I mean, just before we started filming this, we were just talking about Twilight Imperium, which is not a game for the faint of heart, shall we say.
No.
Like you need a lot of time set aside for that one. And as you say, sometimes you just go through phases in your life where you've got time for that, or you don't, where you want something that fits into a really like pocket-sized amount of time, or something that's more challenging or less challenging, or and maybe a big difference is honestly who you're playing with at any given time. Since board games are so social, a lot of the time the person that's introducing you to the game will have a huge influence on what your interests are at that moment.
Very much so. Yeah. And I think
what are you interested in at the moment? Like what's your flavor?
It's
the last few months?
It's been a bit of a mixed bag, honestly. I've been, because before Indiverse, like I love tabletop games. I wasn't much of a hunter for new games. Anyone told me they were coming around with a new game, I was there with bells on anytime. Could be anything, and I come play. But now that I'm like actively in this space and meet a lot of people who share a lot of creative stuff, I'm finding myself getting really back into dungeon mastering for roleplay games, and I'm excited to go and learn about new systems and ways to represent story, character. So like I think I'm in that narrative space at the moment. I've got back into the hobby of reading, so I think that I'm like that's really like getting me into that want for like that deep, rich narrative experience. And I picked up a couple of things like at CanCon and that are really going to help with that. Some very colorful, some very violent, which look, I'm excited to just give a bash. But like for tabletop games, like the classic boards, I've been digging classic strategy again. For the longest time, chess, checkers, any of those like traditional games with very little flexibility. Aside from the strategy and like knowing how the pieces move after hundreds and hundreds of hours of play, it just didn't excite me. But Nimbus is actually the game that got me back into wanting to look at dynamic strategy again, like classic strategy with a bit of a twist. And just because of the variety of moving different pieces, so the ability for you to turn, in chess terms, a rook into a bishop at each turn, so you have something that's not so locked in, actually gets that flexibility of like strategy in a dynamic and still that classic sense without having dice, cards, all that other stuff in there. That's what I've been really enjoying, classic strategy, but the new stuff, not the old school stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So I didn't think I'd ever go back there, and I think I'll probably shift out again at some point soon, because like I think my partner is more the one who's sort of like fizzling out with it. But we have other strategy games going to try, like Aethermon with co-op and competitive. So it's always just going to do a little ring around, but also solo stuff. I want to try getting into journaling. That's like my next personal goal. Journaling tabletop roleplay games, which the lovely, I don't know if you've met the lovely guys at Ravens Ridge Emporium. Brandon from that team has been very nice in sending me a whole bunch to stick my teeth into. So hopefully next that'll be me.
It's really cool seeing how the solo game space is opening up. Seems like even just a few years ago, there really wasn't very much on the market, and suddenly a huge blossom on that side of things.
Yeah, well, I mean, the pandemic kind of like
Yeah,
probably
definitely.
Encouraged
created
a lot. Yeah.
an entirely new market of people like, oh, I want to play games and there's no one here. So I mean, the people
But
who got
I mean,
that
in some ways, though, it's almost like a return to a part of our childhoods, right? Like there's just, I mean, I didn't really play a lot of these formalized games as a kid, but I definitely played a lot of games. I was making them up myself. And in some ways, it's sort of like that again. It's kind of
always
fun.
been a game designer.
Yeah, I guess so.
And someone convinced me that I was the designer recently. Mark from Armored Gaming, who I met at Tabletop Con, just because like I don't make games, but I make stories. Like the world I'm currently running a D&D campaign in, like I made that by playing another game with a group of friends, and they convinced me that I do create stuff, just not stuff you'd put in a box. Like I make.
I'm pretty sure every dungeon master is a game creator, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there are literally people who call themselves game designers who just do like source books or like world building books. Like that's game design. Every time you're a GM, like you don't know what's coming at you. You got to be ready on the fly to like give players something. You're crafting an experience, which is basically what a game designer is.
It's like improv
And
game
you're
design. Yeah. That's how I got convinced to it. It was between Mark and then a friend of mine who actually is an actor. So yeah, that was, it's kind of nice because it means that I can sort of see it from the same perspective as you guys when we come to these sort of conversations. Like I understand what you're looking for from a creative perspective, as well as now what we look at when we're looking at like growth of like a studio, whether you're trying to like make your next big game and make waves with it, or just trying to get your foot in the door for the first one. Like I think that it's been really probably the opposite end to a lot of people who came or would come into this sort of industry or position as they've come into from that sense. But it's insane. I'm learning so much, and I think that there's a lot to learn. Especially with like you talked about me on how like having an understanding of manufacturing and that sort of stuff, which I do most definitely, but there's a lot of challenges that come beyond that. Like that's the real like straight up, it's right in front of you. Like you can't make a game without these things, but it's the stuff that you don't see, the things you can't put your hand on, like I need this, and that's the stuff that I think that you guys have done exceptionally well. We've talked a little bit about it when we caught up as well. So about community growth, and that's marketing, sales. Like these are the curse words when it comes to people who are the creative side. And look, I agree. It's not my forte. It's something that it's a necessary evil. I think if we were going to water it down to just that for the creative types. So talk to me about how you started with that. What really sort of made you realize like, oh, we really, like if we're going to get like Kickstarter funding or that, where was that and how did you start that journey?
Look, there's so much there. Obviously, we've already talked about live events, putting your game out there, getting feedback from people. And when it comes to crowdfunding our game, we actually went in a slightly different direction. Like it's not massively out there. We went with GameFound instead of Kickstarter. I don't know if we're going to do that next time, but GameFound has a really, really rich platform for engaging the community, right? And that's kind of almost where we kind of see, Indieverse being valuable, because what we did a long pre-campaign where we basically gave out discounts to our game every week for
yeah.
people who commented or like engaged the community somehow, right?
Hmm.
So we
And
did a blog post, I think, was it weekly?
every
I think
week.
weekly, for a couple of months in advance, mostly, in fact, because again, we're a complete unknown to people just on the internet. And so we wanted to let
Like this is
people
before we
know.
made a game, right?
Yeah.
So like people were basically at this point just trusting, like, yeah, we have an idea. Like I promise it's good. You know?
So what we wanted was that when we say, hey, we can deliver on this, people said, okay, well, I trust you because you've already said the things that I'm looking to hear. So if they wanted to read our back catalogue, as it were, that there was something there that
Yeah, like
we'd show that we've thought about a lot of the problems.
we
that
shared the
people might
things
bring
that
to
gone wrong,
us.
our solutions, you know, like put that out there very honestly. And when things did go wrong, you know, we literally had people jump to our defense, kind of saying like, hey, like these are the first time creators I trust because I don't know, like one of the things that happened, like when we first manufactured our standees, they did not work. We
Yeah.
actually had to recall all of our games after manufacturing
Oh,
and
wow.
replace the standees.
There was a very high break rate,
Um,
which was not acceptable.
yeah, but like, I mean, when that went wrong, we shared it and the
Mm.
community rallied around us. And if we
Mm.
didn't have a platform to sort of reach those people, we didn't have that history of telling people that hey, when things go wrong, we will own up to it and we will find a solution.
Yeah.
I don't know if we would have bounced back from some of the problems. You know, in a way, that's actually kind of what makes me excited about a platform like Indieverse. Like, I mean, you are in some ways just another marketplace, but it's a marketplace which is tailored for a certain kind of consumer.
Yes.
And because you were talking about like, you know, on your platform, handling stuff like customer support. You know, and I don't know all of your plans yet, but like, you know, like, hey, like one of the things that we were doing on GameFound was like, you know, running polls week to week of like, hey, what do people think of this? What do people think of that? And when the campaign ended, it was like, well, I mean, I guess we just lost contact with, you know, like not all of those people. Like they joined our Discord, you know, like we still run monthly competitions throughout mailing list and everything. So we still do engage with them, but like for a lot of them, that was their place. They engaged through that marketplace, and now we are no longer part of that marketplace. You know, Indiverse is setting itself up to be like that. Okay, so like you're done with this. You know, I don't know how you plan to migrate an audience over, but like, you know, once you hit that critical mass, it'll be a place where people want to be because people want to support indies, right? Like I think
I mean, like Board Game Geek. Is that Board Game
Yeah.
Geek? Yeah, like because people would just volunteer their thoughts on
my
that,
God.
and it's really generous. You know, it's like with our initial campaign on our crowdfunding platform, same thing. It was really generous. People taking their time to give us their feedback or to read what we were writing. Even we would share an article. Article, is that the right thing? A post? Yeah, let's go with post. We would share a post, and I would click it, and then I would click refresh the page, and people were already reading it, which was shocking to me. It was delightful as well. It also helped that, you know, with a worldwide audience, it means that time zones aren't really a problem. If I'm posting at 2 a.m, it's somebody's 12 o'clock. But yeah, like finding that audience is a big challenge. I'm sorry, I've actually lost the plot of what the original
I
question
totally forgot
was.
what was the question.
No, it was really about how you guys started. But look, look, I already have questions to follow up there with. Like, there's so much in there that I've like tried to pick apart and still engage and listen. But okay, so we talk about Kickstarter, GameFound, like that crowdfunding element. Like, you have that market, you have a community that sits there, and you guys talked about like polls and everything. But you're right. Like, where does that go? How do you invite people into a new space? Like, there isn't that transitionary period, and like you say, like accounts that are interacting with you, they are GameFound accounts. They're not Aethermon Studio accounts. They're not things that are tied into you guys unless they follow your socials or go to your Discord spaces. There isn't that, like, everyone should be moving to this next position. And you are right.
So
it is. Sorry. Yeah.
We already had a mailing list from PAX previously, and that wasn't the majority of the audience that we ended up getting on GameFound. Some of them came with us, some didn't, in part because crowdfunding platforms are really just a very small subset of game interests, right? Like, just because you like games doesn't mean you're keen to throw your money on the next hot thing that advertises.
Hope you get it in 16 months.
Yeah, exactly. There's a risk there.
That is one thing I would say to anyone crowdfunding, by the way, or like anyone starting up. Just remember, like, crowdfunding is like 2% of the market, if that. You know, like we we did what 300-ish units on when crowdfunding, just under 300 units, which I mean it was all right. It was a modest success.
Yeah.
But we've in the year and a half after that, we've almost 10x that, right? And
Yeah.
again, we still haven't hit that runway.
Yeah.
So like whatever you get in crowdfunding, don't think that that's the end of the world. I've definitely seen creators get really disenfranchised because they did not hit that particular place. It's like, just remember, like, dude, the market is big, like it is huge, and you're already there's this big selection bias. You're selecting for people a little more affluent who are able to take risks. You're looking for people who want something a little more adventurous, like people who want something that isn't like the rest. So like if your game doesn't fit into that perfect niche,
but you're also not necessarily looking for instance, there are some really great sort of family friendly games. They don't tend to do great on crowdfunding platforms. It's not where that audience is.
Yeah.
So it works for some people, it doesn't work for others, or some companies, I guess it doesn't work for others. Yeah, I mean,
wholly agree. Yeah, wholly agree. I think you're right. Like you're looking, and there's no guarantee that the crowdfunder is going to be an Indiverse person either, because a crowdfunding, like a person who's going to crowdfunding, they're looking for that new exciting thing. And if they can already buy it in the store, is it the same as like getting it in like 5 to 6 months? And there can be that like, I think, disillusion of like what actually is new out there in the space, because everything they see on an online store, it's been through campaigns, people have already bought it. It's not the new hot thing out there. So I think that even for us, there'll be that challenge of like getting that audience and like getting them to sort of see like we do new stuff, like whether that's the way in which people talk about us in their campaign, whether it's like in the middle of their campaign, like, hey, if you're not interested in doing that or you miss out for their funding window, you'll be able to grab it from Indieverse, and they can start like putting the people into the space there to get that environment or that transition to be the norm or like more standardized. Because I do see a lot of the Kickstarter campaigns that go out there, they have retail pledges and stuff like that, but there's no one that they're really telling you that's going to be supporting them post this campaign, post this 30 to 40 day window. What happens? And I'm not sure whether
part of the reason for that though is because, particularly at the smaller level, it's hard to know as a creator who does want to get your game. It would have been lovely if somebody said, hey, I'm from this place and I'm buying 100 of them, but that's a risk that a lot of shops obviously can't take, because if they had done that, obviously we'd be like, hey, if you're in, I don't know where, if you're in city in the world in this location, hey, why don't you go and buy from your local? But it doesn't always, we don't always have that opportunity as creators.
We've talked to so many retailers who talk about supporting indie games, and there's a couple local here in Australia, and I've seen very sadly some of them closing shop or moving to online only because there's that risk. You talk about like buying 100 games for 100 copies of a game that no shade thrown, that no one knows about. Like, it's not a Stonemaier game, it's not D&D, it's not Magic, it's not that big title that it gets thrown hundreds of thousands, millions of dollar advertising. Who knows? And then how does a retailer then like package that up and sell it as a like something that sits on their shelf? Like, it's got to be challenging. So challenging. Yeah. And it costs them money to put that stuff on their shelf. They're going to train their staff to sell it, and then the staff can just sell stuff that is guaranteed to make them their money. Their 80-20 rule, like 20% of the inventory, which is that Magic, that D&D, that makes 80% of their profit. Like, that keeps the lights on, staff paid, the roof going over their heads. Like, it makes a lot of sense. It's just, there's that risk there.
Yeah, I think bricks and mortar stores are in a transitionary period over the last decade, let's say, that with the increase in online shopping, they've had to adjust a little bit, and many of them are doing really well. But you also see, like, some of the, particularly with games, some of the store owners who are really keen to find the new stuff. But as you say, it's the Magic the Gathering that's keeping the lights on. So they have to make sure they've got the majority of that. And then they're out there finding what they like. And it's basically almost acting like an artist patron to the small creators. But it's a risk. It's definitely a risk.
It is. And like, if they want to go out and support the people that they like, that's not necessarily those that have the massive crowds. So it's like, there is that flip of like people who go out and they get the stuff that the retailer, they go out and buy what they want, what they think is going to be good for either their community or whether it's something they just personally like, and they'll go out and they'll buy out like, that 10 pack of the retail pledge. But the other half of the retail space that we see usually in the larger larger, more established places maybe have 2 or 3 stores is they'll get a budget for themselves to buy up these games, and they'll go to crowdfunding, Kickstarter, and they go searching for the most funded game with the closest end date, because it's a safe bet. It's a way safer bet. It's got a lot of people who have backed it. It's got a lot of money behind it, so like they can afford to invest into like getting more stock and having that sort of like longer term studio presence growth. The fact that it'll exist in the net by the next campaign, I think that has that validity there, where the smaller studios, you just unfortunately don't get that. There is that inconsistency. Like, I just don't know how retail overcomes that. I can't imagine how they do it without massive changes in the way that they sell stuff, or even just like how expensive it is to put stuff on a shelf and try and sell. Like, I just don't see that solution. But then
like if you think about how many new listings there are on Board Game Geek every single day,
heaps.
There is like it would be a full-time job just to follow them, let alone work out which ones is worth your company money. Like, like as Sarah said, a lot of these guys are struggling. They can't afford to take that many bets.
It's wild. And then you've got to think about, like we talked about, you got to pay staff. Like, that risk isn't just for you, it's for the people that you have, the community that you've got, your livelihood. Like, you've got a family, you've got people that you care about as well. Like, there's so many things that go into that space that just make it just such a hard decision to make, which, it means that they're going to be sitting on that 80-20 of like getting those big Magic the Gathering, D&D, the Stonemaier games out there. And there's no hate for it. Like, it's not here judging them, because like it's what they have to do. It's like you can't.
I mean, they're the games that bring new people into the industry as well, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It is, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I'm making that shift. I had dinner with my partner's parents on Saturday, this weekend past, and this is probably their first time playing something that wasn't like something like we would have played growing up, or or Monopoly or something like that. Maybe a Stonemaier throw in there once or twice, but that was their first exposure to a true indie game. And they loved it. They loved it. It was like they learned how to play it in like 5 minutes, one round of playing it, and they're like, well, we'll come back again to play it again. Like, it's like there is just that. I think it's that same mental block people have, like indie games, they're going to be big and niche and complex, lots of mass, all these things that go in there, but it's not like that. So hopefully as we go through this like online sphere of like showing off simple stuff and just how easy it is to get out there and get something that's cost you an arm and a leg as well, to get something amazing, I think it's hopefully going to help Indiverse sort of allow us to keep piling out these amazing independent creatives, but also like turn the industry into a bigger space that's not just like always chasing that crowdfunding. I'll get it in 16 months, I'll get it in 12 months or whatever. I think it's ready for that shakeup. And I don't say that because of where I sit with Indiverse and all that, but I've seen like in my experience, in my professional experience with like working in sales and technology across the last 12 years, like you know when that shift's coming, you feel it. Like when SSDs became a thing, we saw that big shift. It was a massive thing. Cloud storage, massive thing, and you could see it coming. The frustration, the issues around storage, like there's so many indicators for it. And I think the crowdfunding platforms and like that, just that dynamic change, I think it's run its course. And that's maybe me being hopeful, or just hoping that something different comes out for creatives to give you that space to grow and be better. But I don't know.
So presumably though, that feeling is part of the reason why you decided to start Indiverse though.
Yeah. I think initially for me it was just like this, and like to give you the raw thoughts, like I thought it sucked for you guys. Like it does. Like I look at nothing, like not a big like figures and dollar signs kind of guy, but after a couple of weeks after my first convention, I started really looking into like what retailers take as a percentage, what these other online spaces do to creatives in this space. And it's horrid. Like I understand from their perspective of being these big, massive online spaces with lots of people to support, a lot of avenues that they've got to pay as well, but it just does not support a growing, trying to establish themselves business. It either buys them out or just tears all the funding and money that they're trying to make for themselves to get something else out there, where they either shutter their windows or they just go back to crowdfunding and they just stay in the same space forever. and some people thrive in there. I've met a couple of creatives that just do crowdfunding campaigns, and they go gangbusters on there, way better than they ever see in like retail sales or anything else that they do. And but that's definitely the exception to the rule. I think there's 2 of the 300-400 creatives that I've ever met that are like, yeah, their crowdfunding is where I'm going to stay. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's quite a interesting environment. And then, I mean, just to bring it back to what we were talking about earlier, you don't get to meet your crowd like that in a way. It's all through screens. And I mean, we have some lovely supporters, really, really nice people who really feel like friends. It's a very privileged place to be. But also, it'd be really nice to meet them at some point. You know, it'd be really nice to actually just shake their hand, say hello,
say
and you
thanks.
don't get to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks. And you don't get to do that when you're on the other side of a crowdfunding campaign.
I'm feeling that.
Not probably.
Yeah, I feel that a lot. I have one gentleman who I've been speaking to, probably one of my very first return to social media follows, which is Questiny, the gentleman Leon there who put together Questiny, the board game in the UK. We've been chatting like mates since the first day I got into Instagram. And shout out to you, Leon, man. I hope you're having a good day, buddy. You know, it is that connection that you get, and I like I've never been to the UK, never to England, but it's definitely one of my stops that I want to make there, and purely because I just want to go shake that guy's hand, give him a big hug, and wish him the best for questioning everything that he's doing. Because I'm so excited to get that one on my shelf as well. It's it's awesome. But the US is like I've got a couple of people that I'd want to go and shake hands with again and just say hi. And you know, I hate the fact that I live in Melbourne as much as I love Melbourne because there's a lot of creatives here, but there's also more in Sydney, more in Queensland, more in Perth, and I'm like I could just live in all those 5 states, like all these 5. It's fine. I can just fly one each day, go shake some hands, say hi. Yeah, sounds great. My partner would hate it. She would. She absolutely would. But yeah, I feel you on that. There is that level of like interpersonal connection when you get to an event and you get to meet the people, even if it's the creators that you've met, you know, 2-3 times before. It's like meeting an old friend. Can't help but go and say hi.
No, it's really nice. I don't think we're keeping to your subjects very well. So like,
Oh, yeah, like, did you
like
want us
give
to
us like
keep,
the
do you want us to
wrap
keep
or something
focused or
if we're
anything?
talking
Or?
too much.
No. This is my like sweet butter zone of like getting the best out of me for like content and stuff. And I like sort of swing back every once in a while, but the conversation is like it. Like you said, there's so much to know and learn that we can't cover it all in.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we're hanging out after CanCon night, right? We talked like what, maybe an hour. Like, I'm pretty sure if it wasn't for convention weekend and we had 4 or 5 hours, we could have talked for 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah. So I actually wanted to circle into like the cold start problem and network effects and like sort of keep going through that marketing as you guys grew, because like post crowdfunding, obviously that changes a little bit, and you guys did a little bit about the raffles and stuff that you guys run, competitions inside the space, but there's also the talk of like the coming together, and I've had it spinning around in my mind for a little bit about what happens when we get to that like tipping point of having more people than we can like serve to any single person at like in an instance. Like I guess like for you, as much as we would love to be like the social hub for all indie, there's the reality that it's not our space to be the social hub. I think we would have a lot of social hubs attached to us, but Indieverse in and of itself is meant to be that marketplace that doesn't sort of water itself away from being a place where you go just to find out the newest and greatest things in tabletop, put reviews in, check out designers, find artists and that. So it's trying to find like that beautiful vertical slice that we have, and then figuring out like what does the next part look like? Do we bolt it onto Indieverse? Is it a social space that we create? Is it something like a Discord space like you guys? Is it just the Instagram social spaces where it becomes a community area? Like it's so hard to figure out what's going to work.
Because I mean, like if you take a really surface view, what you guys are offering is essentially nothing you're not getting from like WooCommerce or Shopify, right? Like, until you get that critical mass of bringing in people who are interested in this particular topic, right? Like, there's a reason, you know, American Express can charge more credit card fees than Visa. It's because they're bringing the right kind of people there, and that's exactly what your goal is, right? For you have the customers.
The Amex
Or-
of indie games.
Yeah, I mean that's your goal, right? Like as in like when people, because as you said, like I mean like if you start a Kickstarter and you missed it, you might not know where to look. And
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, and you got like a dual problem, right? You both have to get like the indie creators and the consumers, right? Like, and it's kind of a chicken or the egg, right? Like,
Yep. It's a big problem.
it seems like you've gone for the creators first, I assume.
Yeah, it really is. It's and sorry to cut you off there, but I really want to, like, before I forget the next point for it, but I really want to catch that piece. There is that problem of like, well, how do we make sure that like people who are creating stuff have people to sell to? And I think that the problem already kind of solves itself in that you have motivation to sell your game. I would assume you guys want to succeed, you want to sell games, you want to make more stuff. I would hope that's the outcome that you're intended for. And we have a space that we want to bring you and everyone like you who wants to grow, create a space and already have that motivation to do that. And then just have a space where they can bring it all together. So you have a trusted place that people can, like your consumers can go and buy it from. It's going to be there for as long as we can keep the lights on for it, which being a marketplace where we don't invest in inventory, we have a long tail to do that. We can do that for as long as we need to. And it's a space that's there. It's never going to, that low barrier is never going to change. It's going to be inviting for new creators to come in there. And everything that we do is going to be opt-in. Like, to me, I can't see a better offering out there. And that's after looking for months. And whether or not we're the best solution for you or any studio from day one to 10 years down the track, you know, when you're becoming the next Stone Mayor or the massive Aethermon studios that I honestly expect you guys to be, like, there's no...
Please. We like to hear that.
But
yeah, I mean, like when you first sent through the first bunch of information to us, you sent us an email, which I sadly missed it when I think you sent to like a folder we didn't check. But when I read through, I'm like, it's just like, I mean, this is like a zero risk proposition, right? Like we literally can't lose here. Like I'm gonna lose what an hour putting out games on your website. That's like the worst case scenario. Like, so like I mean, once people sort of see it through that lens, and if enough people see it through that lens, as I said, it's like chicken or egg. Once you have enough indie creators, then like you know like people will just naturally gravitate there.
Yeah,
It's always trifold though. I mean, you want to get the audience plus the product together. We want to find our audience, but at the same time, we also want to be making something that an audience sort of can't look away from. And the audience is looking to find something they can't look away from. So ideally, all those three things find their nexus together.
It's kind of like the magic of like,
Yeah.
of capitalism, right? Everybody wins. If assuming you're doing it right, everybody wins.
yeah. It's the... I've had this question a couple of times, and I like to talk. I love talking about with different creators when I get the opportunity to. But I guess the thing that we got asked is, what happens when someone gets a deal that's better than you guys, but then it goes exclusive? Like, I know that there's like Stone Mayor can pull you into that sort of stuff. Like, there's a couple of publishing houses that are like, you're with us, we do, like, you're with us, you get a better cut, you either get access to better, like, the marketing material, because obviously we're not creating marketing material for like each designer that goes through. Like, we're focused on the community space, the bigger picture of everything there. Now, there'll be obviously things that we build out with specific creators for this, that, and the other thing, especially if we do events and that. Doing massive pieces together is going to be par for the course there, but like that's not the major focus for what we look at. And I think you identified that really well. Like, we have two separate parts that we look for. We look for creatives, and then we look for people who want to buy it, so consumers. So there is definitely that like layering and depth for it. But we are right in that we chose that creatives first, because if they're wanting to grow like you, it just sort of like feeds itself into getting more people in, finding more people who sort of sit in the same style of games. They want to get something new, because that's who follows indie creators. So like, it's the same crowds that go to the crowdfunding. We're hoping to sort of get the same in there, but not to take it from crowdfunding, because it is a great avenue to get people like yourselves to make your first game. So it's an interesting challenge to go through. And I don't know, it's kind of been hard. It's hard to see until we have something that's launched. So we're in that sort of like pre-crowdfunding stage that you guys are talking about. Like, who would want to come in and like sign up to Indiverse if we have nothing to show? And well, aside from our demo there and sort of just the talks of what we have. So
But it's interesting what you're saying there. What you're describing is that you, as a small independent company, even if your purpose is to be a platform for other companies, you basically are just like us, a small independent company. Like you're still struggling with a lot of the same problems, which is really interesting because
It means we can speak the same
yeah,
language.
we really
right?
we can understand each other a lot.
I think
That's quite interesting.
working in your favor is in some ways parts of your model is already tested. There are retailers out there who specialize in post Kickstarter sales, right? People who they buy 6 copies of every single Kickstarter and then slowly sell them up, so sell them at a tiny bit of a markup, right? Like
Or a
and
massive markup depending on how the game goes.
and they manage to do that, like and they continue to do that, which means like like it said, the market will tell you if you belong. So the fact that other people are doing that and they're doing that as part of what they do, it sort of means there's an opening for someone to do all of it. And as you said, as a platform, you don't have to worry about the overhead of choosing what's out there. Like every creator has their own stock anyway, right? Like
Yeah.
you're really just adding an extra step for no reason if you guys want to hold it yourself. So
That's it. I think the big thing for us would be for like storing anything would be distribution internationally. If we got to that stage, we Americans, Europeans want stuff held locally, so they're not Australian people who are looking and interested in their games, which is a massive. We didn't realize how massive the opportunity for that would be for the Europeans and the Americans, especially coming into Australia. So Perth, and I found this out only very recently, Perth is like the hub for like tabletop wargaming in Australia by like 5 to 10 times the rest of the country combined. But getting stuff from Europe, which is where all the big and interesting stuff happens, it's got to go across the sea. It's got to go usually to Sydney side or Singapore, and then it's going to make it across our country as well. So you can imagine the shipping fees on that are ridiculous. Yeah. So there are a couple of, there's a store that's name I forget to shout out. Yeah, it'll come to me at some point. But they do specifically that because they know that there is that wargaming community there. So they pay for all those international games to come through and they stock them locally because they know they're going to get sold because they have avid fans of the genre in that community. So that's probably the furthest we would look at that. Yeah.
What do you know why it's so big though? Like why is it so much more popular?
No idea.
I would have thought so different in Western Australia from Eastern Australia.
Just random movement.
Yeah,
people come together. Cultures pop up.
Yeah. Maybe it's just something in the water. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's because I see it and they're like, yeah, we do events like everything for every game. It's one of the biggest ones in the Southern Hemisphere for buying like war tabletop games. And I've totally still forgotten what it's called. But yeah, that's just how it runs. We're here, like it's probably a nice mix. I know Warhammer's massive here, but that's about it really. There's a couple of like other ones that sort of sit in there, but it's just not that same level of breadth of games that is in Perth apparently. So yeah, that's just the way it runs. But that's sort of how we would see if we were going to do anything for like inventories, like just a space for people to actually house their stuff, so you're not hundreds of dollars in shipping to our little pocket of the world.
Yeah.
And for you guys, like with, I guess you talked about like a no-brain, like a low risk for us, for you guys going into something like Indiverse. One of the questions that I've gotten a couple of times is the parallel to Kickstarter. So for us, we don't take stock. Everything that you do is almost like running your own storefront. Like you go to events, it's basically the same thing. You figure out how you get it to people, you do all your shipping or your management, customer support, all happens on our side. Do you think that that's a better value than trying to get into the retail space for a first-time creator?
I mean, I think it depends because, I mean, look, if a retailer comes to you, then like, hey, absolutely, like you're not going to say no, right?
No way, absolutely.
Because you're leveraging their marketing, right? As soon as someone buys your stuff, they have your inventory, they're motivated to sell your stuff. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I mean, there's a confidence of knowing that, like, I mean, I don't know, but I assume you're going to have a rather limited, I suppose, filter. Like, I don't know what your plan is for that in terms of but knowing there's a place that wants you is really important, like so knowing that also it gives you something to tell your community, right? Like I think a lot of Kickstarters they lose momentum very quickly after they do their thing, right? Like they get their money and they slowly start the process of manufacturing. Maybe they finish some game designs, maybe the graphic design isn't entirely there, and they kind of lose that momentum, and then they send everything out. Then what's that next step, right? Like what can you tell your audience that, hey, we've achieved a thing, right?
a lot of it is also about buy-in. And if, as Chris said, if a big shop says, "Hey, we want you," yeah, nobody's going to say no. It's too much what you're looking for at this small point of development. But if they don't, having a buy-in like Indieverse is still really important because it does bridge that space. That kind of there's like a ravine you kind of just fall into otherwise of like, great, well, we have a product, we think it's good. Our audience who likes it. How do we get to a bigger audience? How do we find the rest of the audience that might also like it? And yeah, I mean, in some ways, that what Indieverse can do is sort of bridge that gap.
Especially for comparison to something like Amazon, right? Like if you're using FBA by Amazon, and in our case, our stuff is in China, right? So just there's really two barriers. One is just literal money, right? Like it costs money to ship your stock to fulfillment by Amazon warehouses, and then you pay them to hold onto it. But then there's also like a bunch of regulatory barriers, I guess. It's probably kind of the right word. Like Amazon requires you to, if you want to get the best out of their offerings, you need to have a trademark.
Okay.
Like you need to be a brand as far as what they call it, right?
Which it might sound automatic if you're not part of, if you don't have your own small company, but in order to get trademark registered, you do have to go through a registration system. So it's not necessarily the first thing you do as a company.
Yeah, it's not like copyright where you get automatically by putting it out there, your copyright is protected. But your trademark is different, and Amazon wants you to have that. And I don't blame them for it. It's really good for them to sort of try to push back against some of the counterfeits on their platform. It's really good that they do that, but I mean that's a huge barrier. The fact that Amazon requires everything coming into their warehouse to follow very stringent rules. They need to have a GS1 approved SKU, right? Like these are a whole bunch of things, and if you don't have that background to do that, you're talking about like 10, 15 hours. I reckon it took us to get our stuff up in Amazon, right? And that was kind of knowing what we're doing.
Yeah, that's assuming you know what GS1 SKU means. If that means nothing to you, obviously it's going to be a whole extra barrier.
Right, absolutely. Sorry, if anyone is watching that, that's just like a global registry of barcodes, so everyone doesn't overlap.
Which obviously is very valuable. We're not trying to say that's not a good choice. It's just that it's just another limitation to we're a 2-person team. It's tiny, right? And as you were saying, Dylan, with Indieverse, you're a 3-person team. It's really, really small when you've got to figure out everything yourself. It's a big learning curve.
Yeah, I mean, for Indiverse, like I said, I've gone through your dashboard. I've put out products up there now. I don't know if you've approved them yet. I don't know if you're
Don't want to. I don't want to go messing around with anything in the background while the dev's still like got his hands in there. I'm just like, I'll just leave it. Once I've got my build, I'll come back and be like, so how'd you find it? Because I can log and see how you guys move through the space, which is a really important thing for us. And while we're in like the QA and that, having people who are like have already given their time to put things in there, even though we've not asked you to have to do these things, cross all these T's, dot all these I's. It's good to see that so we can get a look at what naturally how everything works and flows, so we can make it very accessible for everyone to work with. It's a big part of what I did in my previous role as a technical onboarder and trainer in that capacity. So it's a big piece for us to want to get that part right, especially straight off the bat.
Yeah, well, like the onboarding experience is pretty simple. Like, I mean, we're familiar with WooCommerce, and I think I assume that's what your platform's built on. That looked very familiar. And yeah, like everything was up in like 2 products in about an hour, and like I mean that's like a zillion times faster than, like I said, if your comparison is Amazon. Like lower risk, didn't have to worry about the international logistics, didn't have to worry about like imports, and now I mean I suppose everyone's gonna have to worry about tariffs maybe going forwards, but like
so when everything's in stone, we'll figure out what the heck's happening over there, but until it's there, just play with what we've got. At the Amazon space, and like talking about other online spaces, also like there's that risk in there. I think it's also like a knowledge gap that people have. Like we very early in this session, we talked about the types of people that you need, the skills that you need in order to succeed as a business. I think the foresight for cost and how much it's going to cost you to expand and grow in these spaces is not something that I think most creatives go to when they're like, I'm going to go make a game. And that's the pitfall. Like that's the big pitfall. Like they don't allow enough margin to go to these online spaces that start at 1%. It can change if you're at this, like if you're this successful, like, and there's a lot of things that you have to sort of juggle around, and it's not an inherent set of skills. And so that was really the decision that, like, that seeing all of that, and Etsy's worse. Like I get why they do it, but it's worse in how they throw it together. The margin difference is way bigger. So like trying to find a nice reasonable price for your game compared to like what you would be able to sell in like a store or like on Amazon compared to what you get to Etsy is, I have no idea how I would do it, and I have some understanding of what I'm doing there. Whereas like, you know, retail is like, there's another issue of like you got to pay for inventory if they're charging you for shelf space. If there's all these little bits that you've got to pay for that you just don't take into account when you first start. So that's why our like 10% our commission on there, and then anything else you want, you guys opt into, is like, that's great because it means you don't have to have the business side big brain to figure out exactly what like price point you need to go to, how often it needs to move. Like it's just a static figure. It just makes that so much easier for you to be like 10% done at day
like
one. You can put that in.
And then it's sort of reasonable. Like, again, if your reference is crowdfunding platforms, that's kind of what you're losing on them anyway. So like,
it's very reasonable thing.
If you are coming from indies that are coming from Kickstarter or GameFound, they're not going to look at that and like 10%. Like they're already building 10% into their margins. If you're not building 10% into your margins,
please do it. Please do it.
You need margins, right? Like I mean, and you see it. Sometimes you see people who, you know, they get those really small orders and they get those print on demand games, and I'm like, you just kind of like, I'm doing the math in my head. I'm like, uh-oh, like.
So I mean, sometimes that's about what people want, though, because
That's true.
there are definitely creators where the feeling is, oh, I made a game and my kids liked it, and so did my grandkids, and I really want just to get that out to a couple of other people, or they feel like it's a success if they get 20 orders, you know, and why not, right? If that's the success that you're looking for, if you just want your community to like it, it doesn't have to scale. If you don't want scale, it doesn't mean it's a failure. It just means that you have a different intention in mind. And so you do get some amount of that. Like that definitely influences the way in which people estimate their margins. I've seen some creators, because there are some Facebook groups and so on, some community groups where small creators can share their experiences with each other or ask assistance. Some of them are really great, and you do get questions like, oh, my game costs, say, I don't know, my game, like, I'm pulling numbers, right? My game costs $5 to make, so I'm going to sell it for $7 and make a 40% profit. And it's just like, no. You have to like, it's a multiplication. It's not a percentage that you want to up that price by. And when you first hear that, it does sound very weird. When you're like, okay, it only costs $5. Why would I sell it for $25? That seems outrageous. But the answer is because you're losing a lot in the middle. It's not just the manufacturing cost. There's the landed cost, which is getting it into your country or getting it to the hands of your purchasers. And then there's the fact that, as you said, if you've got to worry about shelf hire, or if you need to warehouse it somewhere, or if you have market fees, or if you're worried about tariffs, or, you know, and then at the end of the day, that is before you have paid yourself to eat. Like, let's be clear on that.
Yeah.
Or just fixed costs, like
fixed costs are really interesting because it's one of those things where it could balloon enormously for the first, say, 10 products you make, 100, 1,000, 2,000 products you make. But by the time you make 200,000 products, that's a minute cost overall. But it's you're not making 200,000 products when you're a very small startup. You're just not. So it's definitely, like, you're right. I think when creators first start, when you're first dipping your toes into the manufacturing and the marketing world, it does not occur to you just how big that scale has to be, allowing for and even when you know it, it still feels like a rot for a while. But once you start to play with it, you're like, oh, no, I did need that margin because that needs to cover something else that needs to be purchased in order to keep the flow of the whole development process, the engine of development and of manufacturing and of creation as a whole. It's, I guess, one of that, like, that push-pull between artistry and commerce. Like, it's kind of always been there, and this is just sort of the bleeding edge of that, you could say.
Yeah, I really agree in that. It's like you say, it's not that you don't have that like pre-thought to be like, oh, I've got all these things. And like for a first-time creator, you're kind of learning that as you go, unless you get someone to handhold you all the way through. Like you find these things that you overturn, like the stones get overturned and like demand comes through, or things that you need to do in order to get there, whether it's like getting yourself trademarked, like you don't know that when you go to create a game, because you don't even, not even thinking about what your like prerequisites are for where you're going to go after this, like after crowdfunding.
Yeah, I mean, and then even you just get to the next level, like you mentioned Etsy before, and I was just the other day hearing somebody talk about the challenge of selling their products on Etsy, because when people, as a company, as a brand, what you want to do is release a product and have somebody say, wow, I love it, I'm going to go and buy more from that same brand. But if you're on Etsy, for a lot of small creators, when somebody says, wow, where did you get that item from, whatever the item is, oh, I got it on Etsy. You're not the brand, Etsy is the brand. And
Yeah.
that makes it very difficult to scale and to grow. Which I guess arguably, if you guys hit the kind of success you want, you're going to have that same problem to, fingers crossed, to have to figure out how to manage that for your creators as well, how they can help to make sure that they are still part of their brand, not just part of your brand. But that's, again, it's just another of those challenges that is something that you have to quantify. I don't even know, like, what am I saying here? There's just something
Everything's
you have to figure out. Everything's a figuring
balance,
out.
right?
Balance.
Yeah. Find that comfortable equilibrium for everyone.
Yeah, and that's why we sort of think that it's not all going to live on Indiverse, because if we try and over-engineer that to be that space, then it waters away from, like, it becomes too many different things. And man, if we could make one space that does it all, like every avenue of like crowdfunding, like pointing people towards the crowdfunding campaigns, giving you brand awareness, like if I could figure out how to do it all, and we may at some point, maybe we will. That'd be fantastic. But like having those spaces outside where other people are as well, like that's where we've been doing shout outs for like on our socials and that for other creators that we met. So it's not just like going to Indieverse and they're getting washed away by thousands of products. Like we want people who follow us, and either whether it's me, myself, or Indieverse as the brand, like we want to start talking about these creatives so that people don't just see Indieverse as a place to go buy games, but it's also the people behind it as well, because it's a massive part about what we do. Massive piece. It actually is like, I don't know if we've spoken about on the on anything that we've recorded before about what this logo here actually means. So initially it was designed by Eris at Delta Phase Games. It's a big shout out to him. Massive inspiration for the story behind this little guy here. It is actually designed to be a table with 6 people reaching out together towards also the table to play together. And I've been wanting for the longest time to get an alternate art style for this thing, which is literally like different genred characters from games around like a world that's like split into like 5 or 6 different parts to sit different bits of fantasy, real world fiction, like everything around there. So I think that's sort of that piece that we're looking for, is like, it's got to be that uplifting together. It's everyone coming together to do this thing, not just shouting out Indieverse, but shouting out each other, which you guys all do anyway. Like if we weren't in the picture, you guys would still be saying, hey, I met this creative at this event. Hey, you guys go check this out. I played this game, go check it out. Reviewers are out there doing it. But having that extra place to just be like, hey, let's focus it all in. So when I want to get in and grab one of these things, I can interact with what's there, what's coming next, stuff like that I might like, so I can take it to my friends, buy a new thing for a gift. Like there's just that nexus in the middle that we're trying to be, supported by all these other networks that already have successes in growing and connecting people, but then just having a central place to be like, that's where you go to get the best of everything. And that's what we want to be. Yeah. It sounds
Actually, we should shout out people more. We know so many talented folks doing such cool stuff. We should probably be flooding our own socials with some of their contacts as well.
Yeah,
I'm dreadful with social. It's horrible. Social media is just such time sink, and it's so hard to get the joy out of it these days. So I'm pretty glad with it.
I spent about probably 8 to 10 years using only Messenger on Facebook, and that was the only social media that I really did. As like me personally putting myself and like stuff out there. Because it was that same thing. Like I would sink so much time into it, just scrolling through, seeing what people are up to, and I'm like, I felt like I wasn't living my own life when I was just like vicariously living through everybody else. But having come back to it now for the lens of what I'm doing with it, I am finding that sort of enjoyment, because I get to go there and just see other cool people creating cool stuff. So I think it does, for me, it was a big mentality shift. Like, why am I here? What's my purpose for being here? And when I found something that I enjoyed with what I was doing, I think that really gave me that space there. So maybe you need that disconnect a little bit for a while, Sarah. It can help. Like, you know how is it? Distance makes the heart grow fonder, or there's a saying there. Like, maybe that's it.
True.
Because
That's true. We should take a more thorough break for a bit and then be
yeah,
able to see it with fresh eyes.
yeah, and then
There
you
are definitely people who just get it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned Jason from Toto Games, right? Like, he is like, he absolutely kills it at social media. Like, I mean, not just, I mean, just social in general. Like, he's always shouting people out. He knows everyone. He makes connections. And some people just get that. And I like, I mean, he deserves every bit of success he gets because of it as well. Because, like, it is an uncommon sort of, it's a really uncommon skill to do at that level. So,
oh yeah,
just nonetheless, learn from whoever you can, right? Like, look at the people
Definitely.
around you, look what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and just try and take some of that into what you do in your everyday life.
That's it. And that's like half. Like, we've had a little chat today about trying to keep on track. And in the background, I know, horrible seeing behind the scenes of the recording, but there is, and Chris mentioned it very early. There's so much to learn, and even me chatting with you guys, chatting with the other people that I've spoken to at events, everything. Even I find myself learning stuff about the industry that you just get from exposure. It's just time, effort, energy, just getting out there and meeting the people, and that's what it takes. That's what it is ultimately. I think to get that level of success, like you mentioned Jason, and he's out there. The hustle on him is just insane. I don't know how he gets the energy. I seem like doing.
Every single event in Sydney, he's there, right?
Yeah.
With bells. He's
Starting
organizing
his own
half,
events
yeah, he's
as well.
organizing half.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Every single thing, man.
That's
Nothing.
passion. That's what that is. That's love for the craft.
Yeah.
And he just wants
And
to.
look, I mean, it's so good for the entire industry, just because, like I said, they're like so many of these events. They only exist because people put in that time. Like, we were talking to the guys at CanCon, and they're saying like, yeah, we don't care about making money. It's like, well, okay, that's a refreshing worldview. But it's just people who are just like, hey, this is like their hobby, and they've got that community that just makes it happen year after year after year.
Yeah.
Actually, you spoke a little bit about it before, Sarah. The goal orientated designing. So building stuff. We speak to people who are all different walks of life. They have different jobs, and this is either their hobby or people who actually they just want to make games. And the advice that you hear and the lessons learned in that, they're very different. So I think as much as the community is like the people that you want to take advice from, really got to look also at their goals. Because having someone who's not using looking at the same value or goals that you're trying to achieve, that can be a bit, it can lead you down the wrong path there. So it is always with a grain of salt. But I mean, there are some things that are universal, but really have a look at the advice that you're given, even from us. Like, I'm sitting here saying that we're going to help you guys and teach and learn and stuff. Like, even from us, if you guys aren't here to be like Aethermon or any of the other people that we've been here, you might not get any good info. And maybe you just enjoy sitting us here having a chat about the games and the industry and that. But there is a lot to take.
A lot of learning and or mentorship. Much of the time, what you want is somebody who's 1 to 2 steps ahead of you, not all the way ahead of you because they don't have time for you, and or they don't necessarily remember the steps they took to get there. But somebody just a bit ahead of you, because if you're working at that same level as yourself, if I'm taking advice from somebody else who's kind of at my same level, they can tell me some things. They can possibly also make some mistakes that I could then also mistake as good advice. Whereas if I'm learning just a little bit up, I'm more likely to avoid the mistakes because they've avoided, they've learned their way out of them themselves. So it is a bit tricky in that way.
Also, if you don't need this knowledge,
True.
It's still worth having, right? Like, if you want to get ahead, you need to know more than you need to know, if that makes sense. Like,
oh yeah, cross-referencing is really useful. Like, I didn't start in the game industry. Chris didn't start making games. He started in different sections of the gaming industry as a whole. And so we both bring very different skills to this work, and fingers crossed that's actually a strength, not a weakness, because
you just never know when what you learn might be relevant. Like, if you're looking to get ahead, sometimes you need to know something that other people don't know, right? Like, I mean, sure, share your knowledge, absolutely, but like, also, like, if you're an expert at, I don't know, like, I mean, we're just talking about Jason with these like insane people skills, or if you happen to be a web designer, right? Like, have the best indie indie publisher website the world has ever seen, right? Like, if that's the edge that you can get, absolutely take it.
I've heard of people succeeding because they make shoes. they understood manufacturing because they made shoes as their main job, and they decided to make a game. And so while their game design wasn't like that, honestly, that wasn't their main skill they were selling. What they were selling was the ability to develop a product and to deliver it, and they knew exactly what they were doing already in that way. But you've also heard people succeed because they are a former professional tax accountant, right? And so they know how to make sure their business is set up stably, or because they're a mum and they understand what kids like. And it's just like, there are so many different ways into this. It's a weirdly flexible industry, this particular one. There are so many different ways into it.
And that's why in some ways it's really popular, because like at least on the surface, the barriers to entry are quite small. Like, I mean, I know a lot of people can code these days, but like if you can't code, you probably can't make a video game. Like there's a lot of ways around that these days. Like, I mean, AI is changing everything, but as a whole, to make a tabletop game, like people grew up playing, snakes and ladders, right? Like, I mean, I don't think it's great game design for the 21st century, but like it still teaches you that vague concept of like, hey, if you have like what, 3 things: a token, a dice, and a board, you can make a game. So
and like the bells and whistles are what you want to chuck in there. I think that's part of the beauty of like the openness that people have with creatives about their games as well. So for reference, like I recently played a couple of games of the Cosmos Empire by Bigger World Games. Love the base game. The expansion they brought out just 100 times better. Like it goes from 10 to 100 out of 10 instantly. And the thing that I really enjoyed about that experience was like the Martin, gentleman who created it, lovely guy, asked me for feedback on it. And I talked to him about like things I'd want to see in there, and not stuff like, oh, you should add this mechanic, do that. But the thing that I shouted out the most was literally just a little score tracker for each player. That's it. So for that, it was so my partner has a disability, so it's hard for her to keep the brain always ticking away as well, just the medications she has to take. So keeping track of both of our scores while we were trying to play together competitively was really challenging. And we got this amazing little set of counters. They're like 2 rotary dials on this beautiful artwork banner from Crane. I can't remember the name, but tabletop card game, Crane, made by skip my brain again. But
it's a counter.
Consecrated Empire, Forgotten Empire. But anyway, just that, and we grabbed that, and I love it so much that I have taken those little dials and put them in a box, and I have them with like the extra dice I have for like other games. So I have them as like a universal tracker for stuff like that. So it makes that part of the game that's really challenging for her so much easier. It does make the strategy a little bit more, it's a little different because you've always got like cards out in front, you know exactly where you stand, where they stand, but that can be a mechanical difference. As you grow and you become better at that game, we could take that away, make the game more challenging and more engaging in that way. So just giving the option for all these different levels of play is really what I think allow that. And Martin, he loved it. He's like, that's a great idea. We were looking at that. We wanted to think about how we can break down the walls between like the different age groups as well. Teaches about counting, strategy, all in the same place. Like there's avenues for that, but he wouldn't have got there on his own without the feedback that I gave. And I would have never had that thought if I didn't have the relationship that I have with my partner. So like it's exposure, and that's all by chance, no professional education, no nothing. It was just, this is what we needed to make this successful. And I say that as like,
well, you say no professional education, but as we discussed earlier, you are a game designer. So
yeah, true. Very true. Yeah.
I really love that thing of trying to make games accessible for like people at different levels as well. Like, I think the game that really blew it open for me is actually a video game, not a tabletop game, but it was the best example of lenticular design I've seen.
Okay.
Which is like a different design which changes depending on your perspective, I guess. Was New Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Where they have like, it's a 4-player co-op game, like 2D scroller. But they had characters, which I think one of them
just wildly unbalanced.
Yeah, like way too powerful, right? One of them can't die by falling into pits, and another doesn't die by getting hit. And my first read on that is like, but this is unbalanced.
Yeah,
right? Like, who wants that? I'm like,
but if
no.
you're playing with your 6-year-old child, maybe you want that.
Yeah, like
maybe they fall into pits all the time.
If you're like a 10-year-old kid playing with a 6-year-old kid and a 4-year-old kid, you want them to be able to keep up with you, right? Like, it also gives them the chance to feel like heroes. And I'm just like, that realization that like, not like,
Balance
you-
doesn't necessarily mean balance. Sometimes
Yeah.
imbalance can actually level the playing field, and it can be better that way.
You know, and if you can find ways to make your games more accessible and also like make that modular, right? Like let people opt in, opt out, and that's exactly what you're
Yeah,
describing there. And
yeah.
like, dude, everything you're saying about you not being a game designer does not sound true. Sounds like you nailed it there.
I actually really like hearing about people's home mods for games as well. Like
Yeah.
tabletop games, it's really easy to house rules
Oh
thing.
my god, we've had so many people like
So many.
emails, like contact us, like, "Ooh,"
And
we've been,
they're
like,
fun. And it's like, okay, it's
I
not
replied to
necessarily
one
what
of them,
yeah.
actually.
It's not necessarily what we would put in the box for like official rules. But I haven't yet done it, but I still want to put it onto our website. Like if you've got some cool fun rules that you enjoy playing with, tell us what they are. Let us share them with other people. Maybe they'll enjoy them too. Because you never know, right? If the rules that you love are the rules that work for your small children, or the rules that work for your parents who really are not gamers, or do you know what I mean? Or like you have to play blind because of other do you know what I mean? Like it's just like you could make it harder, or you can make it easier, or you could make it more unpredictable. And all of these are all valid choices depending on the groups you're playing with. They're all really valid, so it's always fun.
I 100% agree, and it's not even to just the mechanics of the game. Like it's how you present it as well, and it depends really on the game that
Yeah.
you're playing. I have a short segue story about my Christmas D&D adventure. So I had
yeah.
two friends, two of my friends have partners who have never played tabletop role playing, and my partner has limited exposure to it. And they asked me to put on a one shot, something really simple and fun we could play while having a couple of drinks, get together for Christmas, because all of our Christmases are wild. People fly. I have a ridiculously sized family that get together, and there's a third one, just they have to travel a lot. So it's just tough. So what I gave them was a prompt to do either something really like old school horror-y Krampus, or something fun and more in the Futurama style, where evil Santa's had his naughty list stolen with every single human on the planet, and you got to get it back and cause as much death and chaos as you can on your way to get that. They obviously picked that because they're chaos monkeys, all of them. But the thing that they really enjoyed was the fact that I said, they're like, "Oh, what do I have to read? What do I have to learn?" I'm like, "Nothing.
Jump straight in.
I'll spin up a couple of characters that I think will be hilarious, bit outrageous, really unbalanced for any standard game, but it'd be a lot of fun for the day." I'm like, all you gotta do is just, I'll tell you what this person's about, what they do, what their kit's like. You tell me if you want them or not. That's it. That's all I want. And while you're at the table, sorry.
Well, there's another example of this. Community, yeah. If like the D&D episodes of Community, it's exactly the same thing. It's like, here's your character and go, which just
designed for the casual audience who, like most of the viewers of Community, I bet haven't played, or at least prior to that had not played D&D. I bet a lot of them started afterwards.
Yeah, quite possibly, with possibly slightly higher expectations of the fun to effort ratio involved. But that's like this is kind of the thing, right? Is like a lot of the time what you're looking for in a game is high fun, not necessarily homework.
What's the thing I said about balance, right? Like you nailed it there. It's like the shorter your game, the less balance matters.
Yeah.
Right. Like if
you're stuck in an imbalanced game for 5.5 hours, you're going to be feeling it angrily. If it's 5.5 minutes, you'll be like, whatever, we'll just move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So I'll be the one who gets the imbalanced. Right, you know? Like I'm the one who did that like magic combo. Or there
was a game I played with a friend at a house party a few years back. I think it was Walk the Plank. I think it was called. I cannot remember who it was by. Interestingly, this one has actually a very low ranking on Board Game Geek. People don't like it there, and I think it's because it's a fun game. It's not a game. Like I'm not. This sounds awful, but
I'm like a Board Game Geek.
But so Board Game Geek is really designed for the people who really like to sink their teeth into it, and this one's not a sink your teeth into a game. It's like the fairy floss of games. Like you put it on your tongue, it immediately fizzles away. Like it's a really fast game, and it's a really silly game, and half of it is just luck. And the basic mechanics are that you get to either move forwards or backwards, walking the plank with your pirate, depending on. So you get one round of making a decision, and then you get one round of random. And so you don't know if the dice, as you randomly throw, is going to force you to walk the plank further forward or further backwards in both directions, so you can fall off or something. It's basically a last man standing kind of game. Very silly. It plays in about 3 minutes. Like I had so much fun playing.
It's like One Night Werewolf, same situation, right? It's like
Yep.
If you lose, it's like, okay, well that sucked. Next game.
Yeah. No downtime, no set, no prep, just bang. Let's just go back to the starting point. We're back on. The game's on.
The person who introduced me to this game teaches chess. This is a thoughtful gamer who was just like, I think this game would be fun. And he was right. It was a great game.
Okay. Yeah.
Fun game.
That's And that's the thing, is like you found those gems that may not be gems by the majority of the community, but you found that gem because a single person or you were exposed to it in a specific way. That's another big piece of what we're also trying to do with what we do with Indieverse, is like having so many spaces that allow for people who want to go deep diving to do that, but still having a way that people who want to go for something focused can go for that too. And that's it's more just an effort piece, because the algorithm set that we want to run, because everything is obviously going to be displayed. When people come to our site, we want to be showing off beautiful artwork, beautiful games up there, but it can't just be the same formula that Amazon sit to, which is the biggest games that sell through are always at the top, because that's not how you discover the indie space. And that's a really important piece to what we want to do as well. Like, we want to have like the random button, so you just go to a random page for a game that you may never have heard of. Like, I'm a massive advocate for that, having stuff that's like, it's either only brand new stuff that's come out, or it's only from a designer who's been with us for less than like 2 months, 3 months or something, or it's their first game. Like, all of these things that we can like look to show people there's new stuff out there, there's new games. You don't have to go digging through, like, because Kickstarter does not facilitate that, GameFound don't facilitate that. They have their, these are our loved games, these are our big projects, these are the things that we shared out. You have to do all that effort to go find something that's small, that's interesting.
It's interesting, actually. GameFound used to do that. They used to have just a here's what's new this week at the very sort of like top banner of their page. I guess for them, they found that they weren't getting enough clicks or engagement or something, so they changed it, which is a shame, because it was something I was really looking forward to. And that also, what you're saying slightly reminds me of old Google, like the I'm feeling lucky button. Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, I don't know what I want today. Find me something interesting. And that can be so much fun. You know, what you said earlier about you didn't used to be the person who would find the new thing and present the new thing to your group, but if somebody else had a new thing, you were always there. I've heard people talk about this in groups of gamers, that there'll be a gamer who is like, I'm the rules guy. I always make sure I know all of the rules back to front. Somebody else who's like, I'm the new things person. And somebody else who's the, like, I always like coming back to like the tried and tested favorites. Like, how would you describe your group? Do you have a regular group you play with that fits these sorts of archetypes of gamers, or you play with non-gamers, it doesn't work like that? Or what do you think?
It depends on what I'm playing, because I'm an avid tabletop role play game player and runner as well. It really depends. I have like four groups that I play tabletop games with, two of which are also a lot of tabletop role playing. I think they do sit in that sort of, maybe not all of those, but there's definitely like there's your standout people who always have that pillar of like the gaming community that sort of they represent, whether they mean to or not. And I can think of, like, I have a rules lawyer in every single tabletop roleplay game. There's always one. But they're also the font of all the information. Like, oh, how does this work again? Is this how that works? Like, they know it back to front. So it's not even just like a rules person. It's like an information. They love that deep dive into how the system works. And then they hate when I'm like, oh, the rules, they're getting in the way of our fun. There, forget them. Just do what we were doing. The dice will figure out if you live or die. Like, but then there's also like the fun people, new stuff. Oh, we want to try this new game next. So yeah, I don't think I've played. I'm trying to do more so now with like friends and family and that aren't usual, or they don't play indie games. I think there's a distinction, like people who don't play board games, people who play stuff like your Scrabbles and your regulars, the stuff from like when we grew up, and then there's those that take that next step into the brave new world of unique games. So I think that's more of the people that the latter is more the people I play with, and they fit those pillars. But the rest of my groups, nah, not at all.
Interesting. You have people who actually put a lot of their social capitals invested in like game choices and stuff like that. We're talking about like talking about business stuff. You're talking about diffusion of innovation, right? Like you have those people who genuinely try everything, and then you also get the people who know the new stuff coming out, but they're much more curated. They're not like, I'm going to try everything. I'm only going to recommend what I think is good out of the new stuff. And people fit these different archetypes, and it's really, really interesting to see how that like affects like group dynamics, what games they come across, and how that interacts with spaces like Kickstarter, Indieverse, or of course just like brick and mortar and the choices they make.
Yeah.
That I found really interesting, and where we don't know if it's going to be a piece that we look at. I really hope that it is, because it is part of that community building that we're looking to do. It's just whether or not we have any control, or I think the risks of it. And you might understand in a sec when I sort of talk through what this step might be. So we're looking at reviewers. Now,
Yep.
there's a lot of value that you guys get from reviewers. There's a lot there. We talked about, so you guys as a designer, studio, and as a social space entity, you have an audience that's yours. People who are sitting in your social spaces, responding to your polls, questions every time you put them out. And reviewers sort of sit in that same space of having these people that want to be served or engaged with new games. So they might not have the energy all the time because they have 9-to-5s, they have families. They want to go find these games, but they don't have the energy to troll through Kickstarter, to troll through the social media, to find these gems, engage with them enough to find out about them, and then talk about them for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, God knows. And then, so the reviewing cycle, have you guys used it? How do you think it helps? Because we were looking at having piece. Sorry, go.
That's
I'll tell you about our idea after you. Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I thought this question there. Yeah. Look, I mean, we've actually got. I think we mentioned via an email. One of the things that we've kind of stopped doing is ads, because for the same sort of price of running an ad, we can send a reviewer a game. Like our games are in China, it costs about $5 to send it. It costs us $2-3 to manufacture. We're like $8 US out to send a game to a reviewer, and that's like forever content for us.
Yeah.
For like $8 US. Like that's such a good deal.
Yeah.
One of the things that was really useful for us was going to UKG in particular, where we discovered that one is the organizers have a very long list. Like UKG has a very long list of their approved media at the event, which they share with all of their exhibitors. So we kind of just like blasted out to everyone who looked like they fit our category, and we missed a bunch. Like there's a bunch of people who, actually, I feel a little bit bad. They were like, we gave out all of these copies to people who were on the list, and there were a couple of people I'm like, I don't know. And then I like later find out these people bought the game. I'm like, I was given the game for free. But like later I see the comments like, hey, we didn't get, they were the people I wasn't going to give the game to because I thought they wouldn't like our game. But yeah, and like I think the long tail of that we're seeing now that so these are obviously mainly UK based reviewers, content creators, and I think like half of our online sales go to the UK now. And this is like like just stuff which we're doing zero effort into, which we look at where the traffic's come, it's just like organic or unknown. I'm not pretty sure that's just coming from like just this because we blasted out a whole bunch of games to creators, and
it's obvious why as well. If I tell you I made something and it's amazing and you should buy it, you're going to take that with a grain of salt. If somebody completely unrelated to me says, hey, they made something and it's amazing and you should buy it, that holds a lot more weight. And I think that's pretty intuitive to everybody. So
it's social proof, right?
The reviewer cycle is an interesting one. That it definitely has a lot of value to creators. Obviously, you want the right viewer, like the right fit for your product and for your market as well. You can find market that you didn't know you had access to sometimes.
That's it.
But they're also small creators that are working very hard at what they're doing. Much respect, tip of the hat to them.
Yeah, tell us how Indiverse fits into this.
So we had the same idea that it's kind of similar to what UKG does, but I think that some of the things that, and I will ask first before I make any guesses about how they did it. So when they gave you their list of creators, what sort of information did they have? Was it like a name, a link? Or what's the
first
details?
thing they do, they say, do you want the media list? And if we said yes, then we could get the media list. If we said no, we didn't even get bothered with it.
Okay.
Then I presume the same thing happened on the other side. Do you want to be on the media list? If a creator says yes, they get on. If not, they aren't. Then from that, what it had was the name of the creator, the platform name, I guess, like whatever their name is that they're known by, a link to their most common platform, plus an email address. I think that.
And they got notes, and then they had one bit of notes which not everyone filled out.
Right.
Some people said we only do tabletop wargaming. Some people.
Yeah. Okay.
Some people said we
specialize in under the age of 10, or like we get.
Not everyone filled out the notes, but everything else was filled out.
Yeah. And so then from that, what we did personally is we kind of filtered through that list, checked everybody, and it's like 120 or something.
No, it's 150. I mean,
150.
Wow,
And so we
so
filtered
many.
all of that to decide which of those are likely to fit
I think we end up
our
blasting
product
50
best,
of
our
them. I
brand
think,
best.
yeah, I think we blasted 50 emails out there, and about 40-ish people came through to
I mean,
grab a copy of the
does
game.
blasting annoy? Because we actually just sent them one email. We tried not to be annoying. And
We
it was
shared.
basically, "Hi, this is us. We got your name off this list, which presumably you opted into. If you are interested to talk to us further, here's where we're going to be. Come and hit us up." So it was very much like an opt-in as much as possible.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we did that.
That's
It was a great system. Actually, really appreciated it.
yeah. I didn't even know that happened at any of the events, but that's similar to what we were looking at. So it's about approaching where people do reviews for either specific games or just games in general, and then having them like listed, like you say, their name, who they are, their handling, or
Yeah.
whatever they present themselves online. Links to the stuff that they've done before, but we also want them to talk about like the things they like to review, whether it's like styles, mechanics, whether it's something they do tabletop roleplay, whether they do standard, whether they do like strategy games well. Like we want to take like, because you guys define your games by so many different genres, titles, mechanical styles. Like we want to give that opportunity for reviewers to also say, hey, this is what I hero, to make that process for you so much easier. So you're not trawling through like 120. Because if we have a list that allows you to filter by the mechanics that your game has, and then it only feeds you the people that fit in that, and you keep diluting that list down. We don't like, we could have 1,000 on there. I wouldn't want to do that like you guys did with the manual check through 1,000 lists, but if you've got ways in which you can filter that to what you're looking for,
Target audience.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be great. Yeah.
That would be awesome, because then you've got a list of people that are, or they say they've opted in to come to us. We're not just going to throw up everyone who we find online. Like people who opt into it, they would also sign into our system to be in our review program, so that there's obviously some accountability held to them. There's obviously want to keep relationships between us, the reviewers, you guys, and the consumers, all in that nice happy medium. So having that avenue for you was like, hey, here's a list of people. Here's a list of people. You guys meet in the middle. Have a nice time, get to review. You guys get your game out there to new audiences, new reviews, and they get unique stock, which is no doubt one of the harder things to find stuff that's like specifically for them, because they also have to troll through Kickstarter, wherever they're getting their information. But even if we didn't have a massive list of what we had that would be separated from Indiverse, Indiverse is intended to be that space that allows you to have that level of granularity. So they can go hunting as well as have people come to them who want to grow and have this market exposure.
I imagine that would be really good. Certainly some of the messages we've got from, because we've also got messages from reviewers since.
No doubt.
People who we
No
have
doubt.
reached out to said, hey, I saw you at this, or I saw one of my fellow reviewers talking about your product. And sometimes people are pretty straightforward. They're like, hey, I'm a reviewer. If you're interested for me to review your product, talk to me. And other times they kind of dance around it a bit more. And I think that's probably because, honestly, it can be a difficult thing to start that conversation.
It can be.
I'm
Yeah.
a reviewer. Am I the right reviewer for you? Do I have enough of a platform to justify you sending me free stuff? You know, because we do. We send the game for free. We don't pay for the reviews, but we do send the game for free. And then they put on a lot of work on their side. So it's
I don't like,
it's
honestly,
generous.
I don't think there'll be that many people who, if they took their role in the community seriously, like obviously if you're just saying like, oh, I have 2,000 friends and I like board games, like that's different from someone who has only 200 followers, but
super engaged,
and they're making like, you know, a serious effort
Yeah.
to make an industry. I don't think we would say no to them.
No, we
Like,
almost certainly would not.
there's not like, we haven't really turned down too many
No, we haven't.
reviewers.
But again, so for some people, there's definitely a feeling of sort of nervousness about how to start that conversation. So if what you did was to have an opt-in already, I imagine that would streamline the process so that reviewers, as you say, get content, which is what they need, or something for their content. People who want to be reviewed get that. Yeah, it feels like that should be a good,
And obviously
perfect mix.
Obviously working for reviewers here is,
Yeah.
you know, it's such a like a big market. Like so many
Yeah.
people want to be influencers these days.
Oh yeah.
One of the ways to get found out is to be the only person reviewing a game. You know,
Yep.
like
True.
That's it.
I remember I was looking for I don't remember what game it was. I really should know. It's an Australian indie, and I just wanted to find information on it, and I googled it, and I saw another one of the reviewers who, like a relatively small reviewer, but he was like the number one or maybe the number two search on Google. I'm like, it's really hard to be the number two search in Google.
It is. Yeah.
And this guy's a guy with like maybe like 500 followers on like YouTube. And it's like, yeah, he was the number two search because he was like one of the only people covering this game. It's like, dude, like Congrats, man.
Yeah. And that's for a single game who found a reviewer that sat nicely in that niche. There are, I think it's 3,000 to 5,000 games that get like funded, whether they're reprints or whatever, like 5,000 unique campaigns that go through just Kickstarter alone in the game space, in tabletop alone. And
That's per year.
that's per year, which is an insane amount. And you don't even hear about more than 3 to 4% of them, that's like the worst part. But that's the thing.
Is that the ones that actually get funded, or is that the ones that
Funded.
struggle with? That's actually the wow.
Yeah, 3 or 5,000, which it sounds way bigger than what you expect. It's nuts. Because some games go through for very little because they don't expect to make much, and then there's those that are massive, like there's the Bandai Namco's of the world letting out their Dark Souls games and all that sort of stuff. So it can be a little bit swayed one way or the other, but it's still a massive amount of people and games that get out there. And as someone who's been out there looking for and looking at games for people to approach to go to Indieverse, like there's sometimes not much out there for them, whether it's nothing more than just their own website. And like you mentioned, Sarah, when I make something and I tell you that it's good on my own website, there's not that external trust. There's not that level of validity, because why would I tell you that my game's terrible? Doesn't seem very smart. So I think that avenue for people is like, it's a no-brainer. And for us, it's like, well, it doesn't cost us anything to do. Like, we're out there and these people are already reaching out to us, engaging with us with like the automated messages from Instagram. It's like, why aren't we facilitating that? It doesn't cost us a lot of time and effort. We go review them, we have a chat with them, let them know what we're doing, and bam, they're on. That's it. That's all it takes. It's like the same barrier to entry that you guys have, but the opportunity for them is massive. Massive. Yeah. Yeah.
Good idea.
It just feels good being that avenue for this there. I come from a history of not liking sales or being in this space here, and the opportunity that I have now to do what I've wanted to do in a corporate environment for so long, in working with small and independents, it is great. So Hayden will hate me bashing on the door every time with every community idea that's like, we want to do this thing, I want to do that thing, I want to do this. He's like, where's the like? He's like, every time he asks, because otherwise I would just go crazy. It's like, where's our goal? What are we seeing from like all the pillars that we work with, whether it's vendors, creatives, consumers, us, like all those things need to line up, and you have to convince me that we're going to see either something that's worth it for all those avenues, or at least the vendors and the consumers, or us, or all of it. Like, and the more that I go through, the more that I see reviewers being one of those big things. And I've got a couple of other ideas cooking away that I won't spoil now, because otherwise I'll have nothing to talk about with the next guest that I have.
Can I ask a question then? Like I know I don't want to like push you to even more big ideas or force you to reveal anything you're not doing yet. But like one of the difficult things for us to manage ourselves like sometimes like credibility with like things like affiliate links, right? So if you are going to be hooking up reviewers and stuff, is that like the kind of things that you guys could facilitate? Because we do affiliate links with well, at least we did through our crowdfunding campaign. It didn't turn into much, but like at the back of my head, I was always just like, these people don't know that I'm not just lying to them, because there's no third party of trust there, right? It's like I could just be like taking all their sales and like running away with it,
which we did not. Just to be
we did
honest.
not. We did not. But if it's all running through our website, right? Like the only like check and balance of that is like our honesty.
Yeah.
That's it.
You know, when I look at things like TikTok shops, not in Australia yet, right?
Oh yeah.
But like But as much as I'm not a huge fan of the platform itself as a whole, like the prospects of like integrating a platform which plugs straight into fulfillment by Amazon, the affiliate stuff is all done automatically. It's just like that one-stop shop of that. It's just like, it's very appealing as someone who, again, we have limited bandwidth. We're two people, right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, like I don't know if that's the thing you're considering, but like if that is like one of the things that you're doing, we will be 100% down on like joining into that crowd.
Yeah.
You know, if you're coming through your website, then you know you obviously have that data.
Yeah. I think I hadn't even really broached that side of it yet, because like reviewers and that, like just finding out whether the idea is good from their perspective and whether enough people find the idea worthwhile is sort of where we're at with actually creating this space for reviewers and creators to get together. Like for us and for most creatives, everyone's aboard. Everyone's like, yeah, that's a great idea. I get reviewers, I get places to expose the game that I'm making and everything in that journey. But we haven't really had much of a chance to get into the reviewer side of things. we assume it will be like a no-brainer for them for that. But I think that if we get to that stage, then that would probably be one of the things that I would think to, if we're looking to, obviously, like you guys are making money from selling your games. We take a commission from that. I guess I really would want something that can help those guys as well, whether it's affiliate links, like you say, and like, hey, if you wanted to buy this from my link, then that links to, the cart with what you guys have, and they can buy it straight through the website for a clip to the advertiser, the person reviewing it, to you guys, and then also to us as well. That seems like a really good way to do that, and incentivize people to do, not even to just make like, oh, this review is great, you got to go buy this game right away, but incentivizes people to want to come in and talk about these games that are new and unique. Because I imagine getting something that's reviewed by everybody, you can go and do a little bit of like cheat sheeting by like what other people are talking about, and either you steer it clear so you have a new unique perspective, or you only make it an opinion piece, in which I don't know how well that goes. So I think that's a great idea. I'm actually going to write that down on my notepad while we're here, because like I hadn't even made it that far down the idea pathway yet. But yeah, that would be awesome for it. I think it's good.
Cool. I am being rude and going to my phone to check something.
All right. No
So
worries.
one thing which we've discovered when we got that big list of media from UKG is there was a lot of reviewers who wrote, and I'm pretty sure it was Zatu Games, which is a online retailer and I think a small distributor in the UK, but primarily retail. They have quite a large presence at UKG. I think they do some distribution, but I think directly through their website, like you're gonna put this on the internet. Like, if I get this wrong, like beat this out and like come back, edit this away. It may not have been Zatu. But they like a lot of people were reviewing through that website, so like people could then go immediately. Because I mean, one of the big things for sales is like how close is the customer from like literally pressing those buttons to make that sale, right? Like if you get that's the friction, right? Like if you get a review from a reviewer you trust and a game that sounds like it fits your group, and you're like 2 clicks away, 3 clicks away from making that decision, it's a lot easier. Like not just for like us selling the games, but also for consumers. Like legit, if you genuinely really want, for example, our game Aethermon, and it's hard for you to find, if it's hard for you to make that purchase, but if we're not on Amazon or our own website or Indieverse or wherever we are, and you're like, look, I've spent 10 minutes trying to find where to buy this game, and it's like, do I trust it that much? And then you move on. You might never come back to it, right?
Yep.
So having the reviews on the same website that does the sales really seems to make a difference there. And I'm actually not sure what the reviewers get out of it, but like, I mean, obviously, they keep doing it, so
Yeah, I think that's part of the conversation to have, is like, what does it look like for them? Because I've not met many of them at conventions and that we've been to, and it's just not been a focus for just yet.
Right.
Yeah.
We have had them play our game, and I've only found out afterwards. Like,
Okay.
I've had reviewers come like messages that's like, oh, I played your game at PAX. I think at CanCon, actually, one of the few times we had both tables completely busy. One of a reviewer who we had previously sent the game to came by, and we had no idea. Like they don't
that would be good. That says reviewer. Make it easy
Like
for
a
us.
press badge or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like, I mean, they are harder to find. Like, as in, like, if you wanted to find us at PAX, you went to the Indie Rising section, and everyone, like, you could see where we were. We had a giant sign. You just came up and talked to us.
That's it. Yeah.
Reviewers don't have like that. They have meetups, I guess, at conventions.
That's true.
So,
It's just, it's hard. It's got to be hard, especially if you want to do something unique. Especially if it's something unique, because like, it's just, like you say, you don't have the presence to be like their first find on Kickstarter or something, and like putting in that footwork, not only for them do they find someone that they can connect with physically and see that you guys are out there, motivated to do something amazing, but you've got something there that people they like, and they can tell because they see you guys. Like, I've seen you at both events with like the tables are stacked, people going through playing again and again and again. Like that in of itself says that there's a lot of value to that game to like review it and put it into their system. So I understand why they go to events like that, and I hope that no one doesn't go to events because we start doing this listing together. Like that's another thing that I've talked to the team about. Like I never not don't want to go to events. Like if I've been doing this for 20 years and I still get to go to every single event I go to now, I'll still be so happy to do so. Like it's part of that. It's just that ecosystem. There's something there that's just so different. You get so much more that social validity that you sort of spoke about. Like, yes, these people really want to make something amazing, or they have something amazing and they want to share it with the world. So, yeah. But yeah, the ability to do that internationally with the power of the internet, obviously, got to be great, because you guys saw it in the UK sales and that. If you got the same thing from a US, like a couple of great US reviewers and that, it'd be stellar, golden for you guys. And I mean, obviously you guys are here locally, so a lot of people would shout you out here, but if we could do that for the other countries as well, hell yeah, I'll do that.
That'd be great. No, it seems like, I mean, obviously you'd have to talk to the reviewers, but it definitely seems like an idea that has legs.
Yeah. Probably won't fit for everyone, but hey, Indiverse doesn't fit for everyone. So like, we'll just take what we can get. If it helps them out as well. One of the things that I was so happy about, and so happy to hear myself say, as like as someone who, again, not a, like, as far as a salesperson concerned, I was very disappointing to a lot of my sales managers for just the way that I put the, if you don't need it, you don't need it. Like I'm not a pushy salesperson. I don't like being that. I think it's ridiculous to give someone something they don't need just to waste their time and money. Like, turns my stomach.
Especially if you want to continue a relationship as well.
Yeah, you want the ongoing customer. You don't want the one-off sale.
Yeah, that's it. Like I can sell you guys the dream, but if we just don't practice what we preach, it's not really that worth it. That's why I was so happy to buy and pay for your game when I got it. And I was very adamant about that, because I'm like, no, I don't want to take money out of what you guys are doing. Like, your success is selling games. And just because I facilitate you to do that doesn't give me like a special cloud to sit on to get free stuff. If you want to, when you send it to me and I have no say in it, fine. Don't take that. You guys aren't sending me shit. I know how to return mail, all right? Especially from you two. But like, there's no, like, it feeds into itself. Like, to me, and I don't even do it to sort of put myself and say, oh, look, Dylan supports indie games. Like, this is just how this is how the industry works. Like, it works by people buying games, and I am a person, so I'm going to buy games. Whether I see you in person or whether you know what I do or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If I wasn't wearing this shirt, I would have bought the game anyway.
Yeah, maybe that's why we don't know some of our reviewers when we sit down and buy our game, because they're similar.
I mean, like, I legit, some of our reviewers, we tell them we'll send them a game for free, and they're like, no, we'll pay. I'm like, I mean, sometimes I relent and let them pay shipping, like, which is all right. Like, I mean, I'll take the extra $5, I guess, but
it's not that we don't appreciate it, but it's just we also appreciate
it's the cost of business, right?
Yeah, it's the cost of business, and reviewers is part of that business, and reviewers are providing a service. We want to appreciate that.
Yeah.
And like, and for most reviewers, it's not like they're making hand over fist with this, right? Like, most of them are just doing out of, like,
hobby love.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Like,
yeah.
But give back.
I think it is those hobby love it, like that, those that do it as the hobby, as a passion project. They're the ones that get those, like, tabletop advocates, though. The people who are out there who want that invested, like that true to themselves, true to the game, and the love that they have for what they're putting on their review space. That's the people who are going to be buying the games, though. Like, those are the people that they attract. It's not the big commercial people who are going to get, Monopoly version 500 or the new Magic the Gathering set or new D&D books. Like, those aren't, it's not the same crowd. It's not the same people who are going to be watching them either. So there might be less of them, they may be smaller, but I think they're going to have a lot more impact with the indie games and those that they really love than whoever else is doing it.
And that's actually why we don't mind working with small people, because, like, we're still, we're still in the beginning of that curve, right? And we don't want to judge anyone for not having, like, that first little bit matters, right?
Oh yeah.
So if you can give someone some of that credibility,
it's nice to grow together.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah. They in the book that I showed at the start, they call it an atomic network, which is the smallest amount of people that you need in order to have something grow naturally, by those that shout the praises of either the product or the people that are doing it. I think that board games fall into that avenue so quickly. Technology is what the book is based on, but it's about building communities. Every time you sit down with a table of people to play a tabletop game, that's a community. And they go and tell their friends about the great time that they had playing the game that you brought them. They buy it themselves. Like, I think that's the kind of like wave and the way that you build it that you're gonna get from reviewers. And those are the people that come out to that space to speak to and watch these people with the passion that they have for the games that you've got. Like, to me, I see it as a no-brainer. I mean, obviously I want to put, get the proof in the pudding first, but I just can't see a way around having this as a great opportunity for everyone involved. Like, it just makes so much sense.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, there are a
absolutely-
couple of layers to that. Like, one is, you're right, tabletop is a very special case. Like, I mean, if someone buys our game and they want to play the game with someone, they need to convince their friends to play the game, right? So they're automatically an evangelist, right?
That's right.
Um, tabletop. I mean, I've talked about this before, that tabletop is kind of like an oral tradition in a way.
Yeah.
Like the rules of how to play. Like, yeah, I mean, people do read the rules, but like a lot of the time, it's just like someone tells you how to play, and like once you hit that critical mass, it becomes a game which people know how to play.
Yeah.
Right. So like, you kind of want, like, hey, if you know what your niche is in that group, if people will bring it out at the right time. And look, I mean, everything you're saying about just like, hey, the finding the right people who want to share your stuff is absolutely 100% was there.
So that book you mentioned,
Yeah.
I've already forgotten the name of it. Could you tell us it?
Yes.
Pump it again.
It's the
Yeah, that's
the Cold Start problem by Andrew Chen. So it's using network effects, which is that idea that which I mentioned at the start, which is the product is only useful if you have an amount of people using it. So we think about WhatsApp. The only way that works is if you have at least 2 people having a conversation with it. Otherwise, it's a useless piece of technology. So it doesn't, for it to grow, it needs to have more people using it, more people exposing it, creating group chats, sharing stuff. Like, it lives only because there are people that use it. And that's kind of like what board games are. No players.
I think a really good example of that. I mean, an Australian success story, Blood in the Clock Tower. We know the guys who make that. They're lovely.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is the greatest social deduction game ever.
It's definitely very good.
It's a very good one. I'm not trying to like
Yeah.
that. I love these guys. I was like, one of the first play testers of this game, right? Like, it's a lovely game. They've done so much to the inclusive elements they put in the game.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not bad mouthing the game, but the thing that they did that was really special is they found communities of people who wanted to play the game, because social deduction games, they work better when there's more players.
Oh yeah.
And if you can't find a group of 10 people who regularly want to play an hour and a half long game, which a lot of people can't do, right? Like, I mean, most people's board game, I mean, you said you do Dungeons and Dragons, right? Or something like
everything and anything. Yep.
It's impossible to get a group of 5 people together, right? Getting a group of 10 together to play your game regularly is really hard. What they've done is they've created a system where a culture, in this case, of people who want to play this game, where it's not weird to get a regular, weekly game of this going on. And that is what makes that game special, that other people want to play it. Because what's the point of having the greatest board game in the world, which requires 10 players, and you only have 2 friends, right? It's a network effect, right?
Yep.
And they get that critical mass where around the world, people are like, oh, we want to do a social deduction game. The go-to game for them is, well, in a lot of cases, is Blood in the Clock Tower.
You know what? I haven't even heard of it. And that's the thing.
Oh, really?
No.
Allow us to introduce this to you. It's a great, fun hour and a half experience where you get to lie to your friends. I mean, that's. I'm gonna go. Actually, that's the pitch. That's the pitch. Lie to your friends for an hour and a half. It is really good fun. Lots of people, if you're into social deduction games, there are a lot of people who do actually think it might be the best. Whether it is or isn't, I mean, hey, there could be one.
It's really good.
Out there, but it is really good.
And look, they've actually, like, if you want the sales pitch, is like kind of what they do really well. Like, I mean, they solved a bunch of things that a lot of people now have solved, is things like, how do you deal with eliminated players? But what they've done is, like, their inclusivity elements are so good.
Yeah.
So they've got like a character which is automatically attached to another character. So if you have like someone who is differently able for whatever reason, whether they are blind, deaf, younger, just not very game literate. Sometimes you're just not very game literate. Their loyalty, their alignment is always tied to another player. So they have someone they can talk to in the group.
Yep.
And everyone knows that they're on the same side. So like that they've got stuff like that. They've got stuff which lets players come into the game late.
Oh wow.
Right. So yeah, like they call them travelers, or like, so if you start the party at 7:30, someone gets stuck in traffic, storm happens, it's like, great. This is like a character which can affect the outcome of the game, but they're not really like they've done a lot of really cool stuff like that.
That's
So you can still affect the
so-
quality of the game. Yeah, they've done some really, really great things with that.
You have to send me a link to this. I have to go find this thing. That sounds
I'm just
amazing.
going to say that again for anybody listening. It's Blood on the Clock Tower by the Pandemonium Institute. It's definitely worth checking out. But yeah, we'll send you a link.
Yeah.
That sounds insane. Just overcoming those obstacles. Just that, that wow. I don't know if I have a group to play social deduction, but I would just love to read
There
the
are like,
rules.
Probably
there
find a
are
group.
huge groups in
Yeah.
Melbourne. Like,
Oh, cool.
there's actually like I said, they're actually like I mean they have a convention in I want to say Philadelphia.
Oh wow.
It's somewhere in the United
Yeah, the
States.
one in
I'm not
Sydney
super
now.
up
Like
with
they're
it.
doing pretty well for themselves.
Wow.
Like they've not really hit that point of like I mean, okay, they're like their runs they do are the orders of like 10,000. Like it's not like that 100,000 point, but the thing is they somewhat regularly do 10,000 print runs.
But it's also worth pointing out this is 10,000 in a print run or multiple tens of thousands in a print
Yeah.
run for a game that's very gamer-y. It's not like,
Yeah, it's
as
like
you
a
said, like
$50
your
game.
Scrabbles of the world where a lot of people who don't play games, this is really a game for gamers. And they're still making them in
Yeah.
large numbers.
Seriously,
Frequently as well.
do check them out. They've done some really
Yeah.
really cool. They solved some problems for
Yeah.
which they
Especially
the-
for that kind of game. The knockout of players that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's massive. There was one that I saw, I think it might have been at CanCon actually. No, it was at PAX. I think it was called Oracle. It was right opposite where we were with Nimbus. And they had each player turns into a ghost if you get found out for your thing or you're outed, and then you're able to interact with the players in specific ways to keep shifting the needle to or fro depending on which side you're on. And I thought that was really interesting. But
they have pretty low poly art, did they? On their
yes.
yeah,
yes.
okay, I've seen that. Yep.
It was very high contrast stuff, very low color palette, but just very, very like the contrasting is what really made the art sort of like bleed out into the cards and the scene. Gorgeous stuff. But they had that, and I thought that was mind blowing. But having like new players coming in, that's not something I've ever seen like tackled over, unless people just sort of like, oh yeah, you just come in and we'll figure out how we sort out the rest of the game with you. And that's sort of like it turns into that homebrew kind of thing, but that's phenomenal. And that's the kind of innovation. I wonder if it was like a player that they tested with, or whether they were playing a deduction game and hated that they had to have this thing. I'd love to know the motivation for how they got to
well,
where
I mean,
they are.
they were like playtesting this for like I said, I knew these guys back in like 2012 when they first started.
Oh wow,
playtesting
okay,
this
yeah.
game. And it took them like 5 years to crowdfund, just because
I think it was a 7-year development
Yeah.
process of testing and testing.
they were
and
ready to
refining and
go
testing.
way before they crowdfunded.
They were, but they still kept testing it anyway, partly because I think they really love playing it.
Yeah,
Other
the
people really
designers
love
are
playing it.
perfectionists, and the thing is, like I said, and when you've just done, like I mean, we've gone through the same thing with Aethermon. Like since we've done convention after convention, I think I've literally done 1,000 demos. You know,
Yeah.
there are things that I missed from a game design point of view, which we're fixing in the second edition. You know, just very quickly, like for example, you were playing with artifacts, right? In the competitive game. In the first edition, we do a draft where players, you know, you deal out two artifacts to everyone, and you draft the ones that you want.
That just slows down the start of the game, though.
Right. I mean, what we're doing at conventions is I just look at the artifacts and say, you have worse artifacts, you go first, right? And it's like I could just math that onto the cards, right?
So that's what we're gonna do.
The second edition, all the cards are just going to have a ranked value on them. Whoever has the highest value, i.e., the least good artifacts, go first. Gets you into the game, like saves you 3 or 4 minutes before you start playing the game. You get into the fun of it faster. It's a little more balanced because it's no longer that advantage of knowing the game. Like if you know an artifact's really good and your opponent doesn't, and then you know you can go, you get to go first and you get the better artifacts. Like it sort of mitigates some of that. It's just like things you just learn through playtesting and playtesting and playtesting. Things that you can't theorycraft or it's difficult to theorycraft.
We were talking about this at the very beginning of this conversation about sort of, as you said, like mistakes that you don't know you're going to make and the things that you need to learn as you go. And this has kind of been one of them, that there was an opportunity here that we missed. And with our second edition, which will be coming up soon, we'll be able to correct that. So that's going to be good.
I think there's like 2 parts in there. From the perfectionist that goes for the Blood and the Clock Tower, like I think that it's hard to tell whether or not he would have such success and such a unique and inclusive and like mechanically unique game that they have if they had stuck or just gone straight to, you know, crowdfunding, or whether they develop and grow as they go through with a product that they have, like you guys, like what's the right way, whether it's like a specific game type, whether it's like a long play. It would be an interesting thing to find, and I know that Hayden would probably love to digest that into like hundreds of hours of his time because it's just the way his brain functions. But I think that there's an anecdotal side to it that we could look to, but I don't think I've had enough exposure yet to sort of give my opinion on that space. But definitely an interesting thought pattern to go through. I think if we're looking at like hundreds of games a year.
Yeah, I mean, sticker price matters here as well because they say
Very
the
true.
game's $150, ours is 30, right?
Mm.
Like, if you are making a mistake in a $30 game or something, if like I'm very, like if I buy a game for $30, I'm pretty forgiving of it, right? Like if like something isn't perfect, like I mean, even if it's like a manufacturing default, I'm like, yeah, that's $30. But $150 is like,
Please get that right.
yeah, I know. So like, I mean, so maybe your risk tolerance for errors change on your sticker price.
Maybe, yeah. That could, yeah, I didn't even think of that. Like I said, I haven't even really thought about what quantifies like any of the the thoughts that I would have around it. But I think it's probably going to be something that's going to be like prickling away at the back of my mind every event I go to now, or like when I'm just hunting around, just looking at new people, new games, and that to reach out to and speak to. Like, yeah,
It's another question to ask in your next podcast.
yeah, might be. It's so hard to like, and we came in starting to want to talk about like this cold start problem about networking and like the networks and that, but I think I've had just as good a time just sort of like throwing around to like the exposure and the stuff that you guys have done. It's like it's that natural thing. And look, we can always come back and do another show. I mean, I wouldn't say no to coming back and you guys coming again. Maybe in
I mean, this is a pleasant conversation.
Yeah,
Like, I
agree.
mean, this is just like talking to a friend, right? It's the
Yeah.
industry. Like talking to people in the industry is just so valuable anyway, because you never know what someone knows that you don't, right? Like we all
That's
have
it.
blind spots,
Mm.
right? And by having these communications, you kind of you protect yourself against some of them.
Oh yeah, like in our session now, just while we've had this conversation, I've made like 3 notes for like for Indieverse stuff, and I've made like 3 or 4 notes as well for like other stuff I want to talk to about creators, things I'd want to think about when I'm playing games that I've bought from people or people ask me to give feedback on, and just like in systems that I wouldn't have thought of if I didn't have this. And I 100% agree in that this isn't always going to be an educational piece. Like you're not always going to learn something when you listen to myself and whoever I've got on the other side of the camera talking to, but at least once or twice ever for the stuff that you listen to. If you learn something, that's stellar. That's amazing. If it just one little light bulb clicks and it makes you make a decision that saves you a lot of effort, gets you into creating a game or just an avenue to do something better around your design, that's a win for me.
As business runners, like you know how, I mean, you're obviously in the same place. Like you know how expensive a mistake can be, right?
It can be, yeah.
Like sometimes we assume it's like remember to renew your domain, right? Like was it no? I think it was a hosting. I think we forgot to renew our hosting one time. It's like our emails were down for like 24 hours. I'm like, I have no idea. I have no idea what we possibly missed, right? And
Yep.
if just a conversation like that, like this maybe saved someone a bunch of hassle, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, I doubt that you're having that problem, but like like you never know what you're gonna take from these things, right?
That's it. And I hope that with at 2 hours 15 for recording time so far, I hope someone's not going to sit there and just like eyeball and watch us the whole time. If you are, thanks for coming around. But I think that there's a lot of stuff. Yeah. Like I listen to stuff like what we do here and what I do when I go for a walk. And I listen to it in the background. I let it like ruminate with me while I'm doing other things in my life, like cooking dinner, walking. Well, I don't walk the dog anymore, but walking myself and that. Like this. Yeah. Well, he definitely wouldn't like that. But yeah, I think it's like that incidental learning that you get. And if you get entertainment as well, find out about like a little bit behind the scenes of how Indiverse works or how creatives work, and you just have an interest for it. That's great too. That's all the well and good for it. But thanks so much, guys, for jumping on today. It's been a roller coaster of stuff. We got through probably most of the stuff we wanted to talk about, 90% of the stuff we didn't want to talk about, and it's been a good time. Before we go, is there anything that you guys would like to shout out before we close up with this one?
I'd like to shout. I mean, I would probably suggest that if you are interested in board game development, tabletop in your area, take a look around. There are very often groups that love new members. It's very much a welcoming hobby if that's the thing you want. We know some. So we used to live in Albury for a while, and there is a group down there which started because one person went, "Oh, I have a large collection of games and I'd like to play them with more people." And now it's like, what is it, like 500 strong?
Yes,
It's
something like
crazy,
that.
and it's just in like 2 years. That is headed by somebody who is possibly the best community organizer I've ever
Yeah, if you can make it
met.
down to
She's extraordinary.
Humbug Con, if you can make it down there, I think
Humbug Con.
Is it what it called?
Humbug
don't
Con,
know.
Humbug Con. And they're I think they're going to be doing that thing in only a few weeks
In
actually.
April,
Wow.
I think it's April.
April.
So you know, if that's it, if you're a person listening to this and thinking to yourself, man, I really wish I had more board game friends, you can make it happen.
Very
Board
easily.
gamers are quite friendly. What else do we want to shout out?
Yeah, no, biggest thing is like if presumably by the time you're watching this, the new Indiverse update will be up.
Yeah.
Your
Yep,
website
yep.
will be up and running, and we should be
Yeah.
on there. So like, also check out Aethermon.
Check out Aethermon. Check out Indiverse. And let us know what you think, I guess.
Yeah,
And
reviewers.
Dylan, thank you so much for having us. It's been a real
Yes.
pleasure.
Send Hayden our best. And,
Yes.
Will do. Yeah, no, thank you guys for coming on. It's always fun to like sort of preload in my brain. I'm like, I'm definitely going to ask those guys for an interview, and I think I had that from the first time we spoke at PAX. I was like, there's something here. I hadn't quite picked it then because we didn't get as much opportunity to talk. But as soon as PAX is crazy. It's always crazy. As soon as we got a chance to sit down and have a chat at CanCon, I was like, there, I knew I could trust my gut on this. There's something special here that you guys have with the experience that you guys have had, how you look at creation, obviously, and the game as well. It's like, it's so in that realm of like what we're looking for as like something that's so accessible to get people in to get to those big $150 games. And that's a bridge like in a consumer space that we see not a lot of like the newer people who are just like listening, like just go to their folks and play the same games, like getting people into more stuff. I think that's also a big piece that I knew that would be really good because you guys have something I didn't expect to be as simple yet complicated and very investing all at once. But I can't wait for the next two games. At least the top of the hill one, the climbs to the top of the mountain one that you guys told us about at King. I'm so keen to give that a try. If you need a play tester, like heads up straight away. I'll come along and say hi. Yeah,
We'll make it happen, man.
yeah, absolutely. I'll be so on board. Myself, Hayden, and our partners would probably be like, "Yep, we'll do a night. We're going to do it, and we'll give you guys some feedback on it." Because
it has a great overlap with people who are both role playing gamers, because like it does have some of that mechanically looks a bit like some of those like very very conflict driven games with obviously. But also, you know, it's literally a tabletop game, so it kind of bridges that world a little bit. So we're excited to see how that one goes. And like, dude, I mean, look, at least once a year, we're probably going to be in Melbourne for PAX. So like,
exactly,
say that and nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. And we better go out for that dinner because otherwise we'll only just chatting at the PAX and then it's like 10-15 minutes here and there. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, well, I'll hold you to that, guys. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great, whenever we see you again next, maybe here, there, anywhere, but yeah, thanks again. And like I said at the start, check out Aethermon. They are phenomenal people. They have a phenomenal game. We'll be doing a shout out for you guys on the Indiverse socials as well, so people get to see a little bit, especially the map. Oh my god, the perspective map is like my favorite piece still. I love it. Love it.
I just going to do a quick shout out to that actually.
Please.
I think he's Gaton Jutsu at Gaton Jutsu on Instagram, and Fabio Porta, who I think is
the Art
of Nemo on Instagram as well. They're both fantastic artists.
They make us look good.
Oh, they really do.
Make us look so
They really do. And you know, like, yeah, there are so many fantastic people.
It's a hard time for artists right now. If you need commissions, like reach out.
Yeah, I do.
It
anyway, again,
may or may not be an avenue we're looking at.
Great idea. But on the down.
Edit it out, dude. Edit it out. Get rid of it. It's gone.
All right.
But, yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much again. We'll speak to you again soon, no doubt. Maybe even have you on before we go on again. But that's me, Dylan from the Indiverse, signing off, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.
Good luck with the launch.
Thanks.